The annual summer pilgrimage to South Haven, Michigan and Gingerman Raceway leads us to GRIDLIFE Midwest. Music, car culture, and racing in one weekend. Welcome to the Grid.
I know that you're mine, but I wish we could pause and press rewind when I'm not with you. Boy, you got me hoping for a redo. Might run out of time, so why can't we just pause and press rewind when I'm not with you? Boy, you got me hoping for a redo. I know that you're rewind when I'm not with you. Boy, you got me hoping for a redo. Might run out of time, so why can't we just pause and press rewind when I'm not with you? Boy, you got me hoping for a redo. I know that you're
Shannon, a native of Watkins Glen, who might be regarded along with Henry Valent and Lester Smalley as one of the pioneers in Grand Prix development in this part of the country. This organization, of course, is known as the Watkins Glen Grand Prix Corporation. Once around, the cars will return to the starting grid and will resume their normal static positions, after which they'll receive the green flag and the race will be underway. Anyhow, there's plenty of horsepower here today for these small engines. And there we go, the race is on a standing time.
Welcome to Watkins Glen International, one of the most historic road courses in the world. It's held every kind of major racing series over its 80-year history. And while this racetrack has been here since 1956, racing in the town of Watkins Glen happened even earlier than that. It didn't start here. It started here, right in the middle of downtown Watkins Glen, right in front of the courthouse. This is the original start line for the 6.6-mile course that ran from 1948 to 1952. The name of this place was called Jefferson until 1852, when it was renamed after Dr. Samuel Watkins. The town was called Watkins, and this is the Glen, hence Watkins Glen, and the name of the racetrack we have today. One of the coolest parts of the original street course is the old stone bridge, mile marker 3.0 on the 6.6-mile track. This is the farthest west that you go before you turn back around and head back into town. A lot has changed in the last 70 years, but the old stone bridge is still here, and you can drive across it yourself today. Just after mile marker number 4, the second place at train tracks crossed the track, but this time at grade. So on October 2nd, 1948, the first ever race in the town of Watkins Glen, they had to stop the railroad. They called it the day they stopped the trains. One of the most recognizable corners on the original street course is Big Bend, this long downhill right-hand turn that led to the end of the lap. It's really no coincidence that today on the full course, there's a corner just like this, a fast downhill right-hand turn. When the permanent course was finally built in 1956, it was set up so that this section was actually the main straight. Pit lane used to be right next to me here. And this is the original flag stand. It was discovered in a barn after a fire a couple of decades ago, and they put it back where it belongs, right before the climbing S's and the 3-story climb to the back straightaway. This is the 90. It's turn number 1. It actually used to be the last turn on the racetrack. But in 1971, when the track was reconfigured, everything shifted around and the start-finish line moved up that way. And this became the challenging first turn around the 3.4-mile Watkins Glen. The famous S's. These have basically been unchanged since 1956, although there was the Schechter chicane put in during the 1970s and 80s when Formula One was here. But the track narrows from 60 feet wide on the front straightaway down to just 32 feet at the top of the hill. And you're traveling between 120 and 150 miles an hour through this section. It feels like you're driving through a tunnel at the top of this hill. In 1992, Watkins Glen International installed the inner loop, better known as the bus stop chicane, to slow cars down before the high speed at turn 5. The inner loop has a couple different configurations for the entry curbs, but for this weekend, all of the curbs are gone. This is just flat concrete all the way through, and it's going to make this 3 corners instead of 4, and exceptionally fast, especially if you can get right against this Armco barrier on corner entry. Once you fly through that first section of the bus stop, then you hammer these curbs. They're really tall and they're going to send the car airborne, but if you do it just right, you sling through here at the top of 3rd gear, sometimes even 4th. It's a really fast, fun section to get right before turn 5. This part look familiar? This is sort of reminiscent of that big bend we saw on the original course. 10 degrees of banking and a downhill right turn. Now, if you're running stock cars, you typically take the short course. You stay to the right. But here this weekend, we're on the full course, the Grand Prix circuit, 3.4 miles. You stay to the left and head down to turn 6. And that is a major trouble spot here, that plunging descent into that 6th turn. But over the years, cars got faster and the course needed to get longer so that there was a more interesting lap. So in 1971, Watkins Glen added the boot. So much elevation change down here. And when you get into the braking zone for the toe at turn 7, you have that gravity assist heading back up the hill. So you can hit the brakes so much later than you think before you turn around and head towards the hill. This is the NASCAR cut through, and this is where the boot rejoins the main circuit. The challenge here is because these two surfaces have to mix, there's really no camber here. And this flat turn makes it really hard for drivers to get back on power and accelerate towards turn 10. Once you leave turn 9 and head to turn 10, the next left-hander up the road, if you have enough downforce, you might be able to take it flat. That's a gut check for sure before you finish out the lap. Behind me is turn number 11, the last turn on this lap. You have to use all the racetrack at corner exit to maximize the track limits, right up to the old-fashioned outside wall. And that finishes your lap around the 3.45-mile Watkins Glen International. So much history at Watkins Glen International, and it's about time to write some of our own. Welcome to GRIDLIFE Summer Apex, round 4 of 6 in 2026. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Arjuna Kankapati and Jackson Lambros here this weekend. A look at the history from 1948 to 1955, and then to 1956, the construction of the track we know today. Over the next 20 or 30 years, it saw a couple of iterations, including the Schechter Chicane, and then the Interloop, which completed the 3.45-mile course we know today. Arjuna, 11 turns around here. This place is so fast. I call it the super speedway of North American road racing.
And when I talk to drivers in professional paddocks, they call it an elevated street circuit. It's narrow at places with walls on either side of you, and the boot, it's got so much camber and character that you've got to work your way through. But as much as this is an old school track in so many ways, there's one thing that we should remind ourselves. There's a couple of places where track limits become a question.
Yeah, turns 1, 8, and 10 will be the trouble spots here this weekend. And we'll talk more about that this weekend because it does matter a little bit which series we're talking about. But there's the comparison of the 6.6-mile course to the current 3.5-mile track that we'll be running on all weekend long. There's a look at it. What a beautiful sight. I'm so glad to be back. This is a home weekend for me. My family's out here this weekend. Arjuna, I grew up about an hour and a half north in Rochester, New York. The airport everyone flew into for this week, but a full 3-day weekend for the motorsport stuff. We've got Bunt coming tonight, T-Pain and Shaq as DJ Diesel playing on the main stage, the NOS Energy main stage tomorrow night. But what a sight, and we're about getting ready to roll our GRIDLIFE TrackBattle Championship for their third heat of the weekend. So resetting track records. We've been here before, but it was back in 2023 in April, and it was wet the whole weekend, so there's not really a lot of records we haven't already broken, so lots still left to go this weekend.
We are in the heat of the afternoon, though, so I don't think we're expecting any of those records to be broken. There's a potential that some of our drivers elect just not to go out today and save themselves and their car for tomorrow. But with the limited experience that a lot of drivers have at this facility, Carl, I do think there is something to be said for going out there and getting a couple of laps. You were here last time in 2023, that was rain impacted, so slightly different lines that you would have taken compared to what we see today. So I think a lot of drivers might still want the track time that we've got remaining.
Yeah, and if you took a look on the left side of your screen there, we've got our Falcon Club TR and Falcon Club SC competitors with the times they've already run so far this weekend. I think with the exception of Club SC, I believe that the TR records are easily records. I don't know that we've actually picked Club SC just yet, but you'll see now the green dots correlate to the drivers that are advancing to the podium sprint. Those that are in the orange are in need of a faster lap time in order to make it to the podium sprint come Sunday afternoon. And you made a great point that, you know, even if you don't expect to break a track record, if you expect to get into the podium sprint, now is the time that you're going to experience the conditions most similar to Sunday afternoon.
I hadn't even been thinking about it like that. I was just thinking seat time, but you are 100% right that especially with dialing these cars in, when you get into that unlimited class in particular, there could be something to be said for just the data that you'll potentially have going into those podium sprints when we take the top 5, kind of reset the times and send them out there to try and earn the maximum points over the course of the weekend. Of course, now though, the first of our groups will slowly ramp up the speed of the cars as we work through track battle. I always love seeing these cars, Kyle, because some of them will have literally driven down from maybe Rochester in some cases to the racetrack and, well, just gone racing with the car they brought to the track as well.
Yeah, there's a big range. Those in Falcon Club SC, a lot of those drivers, like Sam Dooling, will drive their car. He drove from South Carolina, a little further from Rochester up there to the north. But yeah, a lot of drivers will drive their car to the racetrack in these classes. Now, Falcon Club TR has seen so much advancement and pushing of the rules that they're mostly representative of a true track race car with interiors pulled. A rule change this year meant that you're going to see the minimum weight rule kind of be activated a little bit more. About 2,500 pounds is your minimum weight. So that's something to consider here this weekend, as drivers are finding every ounce that they can pull out of their cars in order to get down to that 2,500 pound minimum weight across that class. There's a look at your overall time so far this weekend. You'll note Alan Patton at that 144.209. That was run with a back straightaway speed of over 185 miles an hour, confirmed with a radar speed trap. We actually have a radar set up on the back straightaway. We've got a graphic to show you that as well that we can check in on throughout the day. I've had some issues with it. It really tends to not want to run after about 2 hours of run time, although so far so good. It's been up for the last hour and 45 minutes, so hopefully we'll get to see that a little bit here.
Shouldn't have said that. You should have just shown it once and then not shown it for the rest of the day, and no one would have been any the wiser. But it's so cool. I'm so grateful to be back with you and the GRIDLIFE team and to see the continued work that you put in to these events and to showcase the stories of the drivers, but the stories of the cars as well. And you talked about Sam Dooling driving up from South Carolina. There's a couple of stories in particular that my eyes are circled on this weekend. And when we were wandering around the garage first thing today, getting into the track, what did I go and take my first look at? A Honda Fit EV. We're going to talk about that one later, though.
Yeah, that's a street class car this week, and it doesn't quite fit into the regulations of the Club SC Championship, where it probably is better suited. It's about 130 horsepower, but it's pretty difficult to set that car up to make less than that, because it's not like you can just throw a restrictor on it or anything. So, yeah, well, there's Jason Davidson in the 122 car. He's 3 seconds out of the podium sprint at the moment, but still a long way left to go. And you mentioned seat time here this weekend. A lot of the drivers here have yet to have run this racetrack, so every session counts on your mission to climb up the order.
It's a high-speed track, and even in these cars where you may think, oh, you don't have that much power, when you remove heavy braking zones, what does that mean? Well, minimum average corner speeds kind of go up, and so as a new Club SC record gets punched in, it's David Best in the 134.
There you go. That's going to reset our track records from years ago, although I don't see the timing and scoring taking that on the left side of the screen yet, so TBD. But looks like he's climbing up the hill now, and this will be a little bit of a slog here in a Club SC car. Climbing up that hill probably speeds no faster than about 100 miles an hour, or maybe 105 if you're lucky, but it's a long climb in a car that makes about 100 horsepower.
Hey, still faster than me trying to pedal my bike up it a couple of weeks ago when I tried that. I've got to say, the S's, as much as that's the corner that maybe people look at with the most elevation change as being the most difficult, I'll tell you right now that turn 8 in the boot, that actually feels even steeper of a climb when you get down towards there. And so there's a couple of those places where drivers will have eyes to the sky, not really aware of where the track's going in front of them, and it's the muscle memory that you really try and dig your way into. For David Best, though, if that is not a new better lap for him, he's only 0.003 of a second quicker than the driver behind him on the wrong side of the cut line. So the battle to get into podium sprint right now in Club SC is looking very close.
Austin O'Brien returning. I think the only track he's run with us before is Lime Rock Park, so northeast based in that 412, making his way around the course. This is the other big dig out of turn 7. That's a little tough to get on throttle and climb up the backstretch there. Again, just without a lot of torque available to you in these cars. Little bit of a slog.
Sorry, I meant 7, not 8 when I spoke earlier. You were quite right. 8 is the one where you can swing wide with that speed, which I think in these front-wheel drive cars is going to be quite important. Now, track limits, no concerns there. As long as you've got wheels touching the painted surface, you'll be okay. And then, as I am dubbing it, and we're going to probably refer to it a couple of times this weekend, terrible turn 9. The lack of camber just makes it awkward, maybe is the nicest way to describe it. And then you get into the final couple of corners, which I've got to say. The penultimate corner, banked in, cambered, committed. So much fun, but then you get to that final corner and it's really a dance on confidence. How late do you brake? How close to the wall do you really dare get? And we've got a couple of right-hand drive cars. How close can they really get without brushing the mirrors up against the wall?
Here we go, a couple of records. Sam Dooling, John Laughlin, and David Best back to back to back. And there we go, now we got it flipped around. I think I got to tweak something a little later, but there's David Best to the top at a 226.386. Oh, I think I know what's going on now. All right, I gotta make a tweak, Arjuna, but I was wondering about that. So
I can tell you that the record right now is from Michael Jansen
Yes.
at a 224.930. So I think the times that we're seeing right now are just for the fastest session laps, and so David Best has found some improvement, I believe, there. Track position here, clearly not something that the driver is too worried about, waving the competitors through on the run up to the inner loop.
So look at Sam Dooling's car. This is interesting to note. He's actually taped off the front grille on this car. And I wonder if that's in an attempt to reduce the drag on the nose of that machine. Any bit helps. That's the speed tape applied to the nose of that car. You don't really need a ton of cooling because you're not on the brakes for that long in a car like this around here. So this is the ingenuity that drivers are going to try to find some pace around a track like Watkins Glen.
And I guess the other thing is in a lot of these cars, you're thinking about all sorts of different things compared to Gingerman, right? Where we would go through probably the entire range of a gearbox. There are some drivers that I was having dinner last night and they were telling me they've set the gearbox up to effectively mean they don't have to shift out of fourth gear the entire lap, which obviously means that if you've got a slower gearbox, well, doesn't matter. You know what's faster than the fast gearbox? A car that doesn't shift at all.
Right, exactly. There's the run into down 6, into turn 6 there. There's Michael Homeyer making his way out of turn 9. That is a bone stock FA20 under the hood of that car, which is the engine that these cars come with. Woefully underpowered to compete at the very pointy end of the class, but making good improvement, working with what he's got. You see him riding the rumble strips there at the exit at turn 10. You noted track limits. There's really only 3 corners that are going to make a difference in the track limits conversation this weekend. Turn 1, 8, and 10. Now, the rule is you have to keep the tire touching the paint or line at all times. So if you go 4 tires off, that will be a lap time invalidation. If you go off the track into the grass or gravel, that will disqualify all your times from the session, especially when it comes to podium sprints. So got to keep it in bounds. You know, genuinely, Arjuna, I don't think it's that much faster to go wide there in most cars. It's so rough out there. I was watching practice, actually test day for GLTC yesterday, and the drivers were just all over the place, stepping out over the boundaries there. And then in the rush cars, they're actually ripping the underbodies off their cars because of the camber of the runoff. So I don't think that there's a lot of speed to be had out there, and I think once drivers get here and they drive it for the first time, they'll realize the same.
I think as you go up in power and the car classes, you do find a bit more of an advantage potentially, but I agree with you. It's not one where I think there's much to talk about. The talking point is really the inner loop, the bus stop chicane, where one of the twins works through now. When I was here a couple of weeks ago for the Sailing 6 Hours of the Glen, you and I were talking about it over at lunch, but we ripped up the curb there, quite literally,
yeah,
and threw it into the cars that were racing, and that's never what you want. And so overnight, when IMSA were here, we changed the curb configuration, and we've gone one step further. We've removed all the curbing there, and that means that the drivers can be very aggressive with their line, and it means that the speed zone, which has been triggered for the first time, look at that, Kyle.
Well, I'm very excited about this. We were just chatting with the graphics out to make sure that it was working. I would expect if it stops working, it'll stop in the next 10 minutes. So for now, we're getting live speeds from the back straightaway. That's right before the braking zone into the bus stop, and I'd expect speeds, again, in the low hundreds into the high 90s with these cars that are on course, but we could see faster and faster lap times. But basically, like the radar that you'd see in a police officer's, radar gun, I basically bought the chip that you would see in those things and soldered it up to a board, and it's got a SIM card in it, completely waterproof and wireless, and sits out in the sun, and hopefully it'll stay alive this time.
Well, and the change in the curb up at the inner loop means that drivers can be a lot more committed into that corner. You can kind of be a bit more aggressive with the line and go all the way up to the inside wall. Avoid touching then the curb on the left side of the track as aggressively, and you'll really see them ride the final part of that inner loop chicane. And so I'm going to be very curious to see if we do get a 190 plus at some point with some of the more powerful cars. We've got some cars with 4-digit horsepower to be coming up later today.
Yeah, I have seen confirmed 191 miles an hour on that so far. And I'm logging who's the fastest out there, and it was Dussold at 191. I chatted with him in the garage yesterday, and on his Motec it was 190. So I feel pretty confident in the accuracy of it. So let's see what Michael Homeyer can do on the back straightaway, running into the bus stop here. He's going to go by, it's right by the 3 board there. You can't quite see it, it's tucked behind one of the signboards, but we should get a speed 113 there for the Michael Homeyer machine into the bus stop here. So checkered flag is out on Group D, and see him jumping the rumbles there. Such a fun section.
Just watching the line then through the long sweeping right-hander, named the outer loop. I sometimes think of it more like a carousel and the way it funnels you down in towards the boot of the lap. A great drone shot that kind of illustrates the elevation change that these drivers are dealing with. You and I talked about this at Midwest Fest a couple of weeks ago, Carl, but one of the more popular modifications in this car is just to throw in the next generation engine, and that gives you a lot more power. But I think at a track like this, coming to grips with what you have, it gives you a lot more confidence in your skill as a driver when you're able to carry that momentum without falling back on the power as a fallback.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned that FA24 engine swap. It is very popular, mostly because if you're clever, you can replace a couple of sensors and run it on the stock ECU. You don't really have to do that much. And so for Michael Homeyer, maybe that's the ultimate plan with this. The engine that's in these cars makes about 180 to 185 horsepower on a dyno with E85. So you're struggling to make up into the 200 mark. The cars at the pointy end of this class are making closer to 240. Now the FA24, the newer engine, dynos at around 210 to the wheels. So you're a lot closer, and that's on pump gas. So you're a lot closer to you know, the pointy end with a very stock engine with that configuration. So Homeyer will leave turn 11 right up against that safer barrier there on the outside wall. So cool, because when you get up near it, it actually reflects the sound back at you, and there's a little reverb going under the bridge. So Homeyer completes his lap, and we'll move on to Group C here in just a moment's time.
I'm just looking at the results. Do see some improvements. David Best found about a second, just under that. Noah Janke in the club track rack class, he found some time as well. I think 2 seconds there, so he's down to a 2:18. We'll see a couple more of the class competitors as well in the next group. These are not always the drivers at the top, right? We haven't seen the Sam Doolings, for example, I think, in this particular run. Or did I miss it?
We did see Dooling.
Okay.
He was the one that had the taped off nose there, but just a little bit of strategy is required here this weekend, because if you've already run a fast lap, is it worth it? Remember, the whole goal is to qualify into the podium sprint, right? So if you're top 5 and you're comfortably top 5, I don't know that there's a lot of reason to go out other than to maybe scope out what Sunday afternoon will feel like. Remember that the whole goal is be top 5 in your class. If you feel like you have already done that or think you can do it later in the weekend, you don't need to run every single one of the 7 heats that we have. That's a lot of track time available to you.
It's a lot of tires you go through as well, though.
Yes, and the other thing to consider is, you know, it's very easy to get yellow flags here because it's so walled in. So do you really want to leave it to chance, right? I want to get a couple good bankers in some good conditions and really feel comfortable in my time.
Well, we haven't talked championship points just yet, but in Club SC, it's 5 points between Jansen and Lennon Radcliffe. I don't think Radcliffe's here this weekend, so maybe an opportunity for the points to shift slightly. Sam Dooling's a further 14 points back. We're halfway through the season now, so you do have to start thinking about points if you are in with the championship hunt.
I think so, and maybe we'll take a look at the points coming into the weekend here for Club SC, because we still have about a 2 and a change minute warm-up lap here for the rest of the group. This is a long lap, 3.45 miles. And it takes a little while to get up to speed here. And for so many drivers, this is a work up to it racetrack. This is not a place that you want to go out immediately and try to break a record. You have to get brave over time. As the cars roll back in, let's have a look here at our Club SC points, and this is how they came into the weekend. Mike Jansen, 73 points over Lennon Radcliffe at 68, then Sam Dooling chasing him with 54. So this weekend, you know, we can topsy-turvy these standings, although Jansen is leading. If Sam Dooling's speed tape is fruitful, you know, we could really see some shifts and shuffles here.
Hey, if it's as fly as he was in that moving video just a couple of moments ago, could help him out. No Radcliffe, though. I just double-checked on the entry list, so he's going to slot back slightly. So really, it's simple case for Jansen here. Get into the podium sprints, and you'll be pretty comfortable with the result of the weekend.
So the rest of the field waiting to release there. There's Kevin Horn in that purple FRS. I think that's that Will Evans, I believe, in the 12 that's behind him. A whole bunch of new faces here this weekend as well. You'll note as we scroll through the overall running, we have about 100 time attack cars here this weekend. The grids are packed. We've got almost 50 in GLTC. We have 56 in the Rush Series. That's going to be a blast. And then 20 in GRIDLIFE GT as well. So just great take on the fields so far as they climb up the hill and head towards the back straightaway here.
I was just taking a quick look because there was a car rolling off the pit lane that I wasn't quite sure if it was going to be here. But Benjamin Smollen has brought his...
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's still stopped. VW Golf. He gave me a thrilling ride around Gingerman Raceway, I've got to say. As a former Golf R owner, never experienced what that car could do until Ben threw it around a little bit more. He had that car for about 4 days before Gingerman. He had literally bought it, driven down. It was on the same tires that he had picked the car up from the showroom with. Good opportunity for him to head to what's one of the closer races to his home.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that makes this an interesting event, is the fact that for people up here in the Northeast, yes, there's Lime Rock, but I think Watkins Glen is maybe the track that for a lot of people is the bigger name that they want to come and test themselves against.
Yeah, everyone loves a home game, right? And this is my home game, so I'm having a blast so far as we kind of get things up to speed here. But yeah, for a lot of drivers, you know, Watkins Glen and Lime Rock Park, they're both built around the same time, although Watkins Glen preceded Lime Rock with the town racing back in 1948, but very similar histories and timelines for North American Northeastern road racing. All right, Maroney's in the field there in the blue and purple Honda Civic. Now, as I understand it, this will be his last event in this car, moving on to potentially wheel-to-wheel racing and some other paddocks next year. So I think this is sort of the swan song for a car that has been a championship contender and event winner in the past. So Mario looking good, but again, big track, and he's going to send it off in a big way here at one of the fastest tracks in the country.
Now, does that mean for one of his competitors that that car could be available?
I think he's trying to get rid of it, and hey, if you're looking for a very well-sorted Club TR car, you might want to take a look. There's Kevin Horn once again on his first time lap of Heat 3 here this weekend in that 71. Here's that turn 1 exit curve I mentioned. You got to keep tires touching the paint on the right side. If you go off to the left, that is out of bounds here. There's this 3-story climb up through the S's, about 105 to 110 miles an hour in this car, and then that run down the backstretch.
Now, Club TR has cars across the 3, not sure what the right word for it, engine, drivetrain configurations are. We've got front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, and all-wheel drive. Now, track records have been broken across the board this weekend, but the difference between front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive is only a couple of tenths. 206.371 for Evan McLaren in one of the Integras, and a 206.712 for Jeremy Bailey in the FRS. All-wheel drive a little bit slower, 216, so I'm not sure we're going to worry too much about the R32 of Conor O'Mara, but very, very evenly matched between front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. And this is a track where there's lots of long corners where you want to be rolling onto the power. It's not necessarily what you think of as the easiest balance to strike with a front-wheel drive machine.
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of considerations here. I heard that Jackson Lambros has already caught up with Mr. Sam Dooling. So let's check in with Jackson and Sam and hear what's going on over there. Jackson?
Yeah, thanks, guys. And I can confirm that that was an intentional move for aerodynamic profile for Sam Dooling's fit. He just came off of a complete revamp of that car in between rounds, went back to TBR and did a complete revamp of suspension as well as a complete rebuild of the motor. You guys got to remember, he's a little bit further back than he wants in the championship, trying to catch up to Lennon Radcliffe and Mike Janning, and just that little reduction in drag could be exactly what he needs to get the straight line here at Watkins Glen. But I felt it, you guys have felt it. A beautiful day here on Friday. How are we doing in the booth, guys?
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's lovely up here, and we're just blessed with the best weather possible that we could have up here. So I'm not complaining, not yet anyway.
No rain.
No rain. No rain in the forecast either.
We're doing our sun dance. That's worked out quite nicely.
There's Will Evans climbing up the S's here. Here's a look at the weather. A little bit of clouds in the sky. It's trending towards sunnier than it is cloudy, but 83 degrees. Track temp is probably a little warmer than that. That's an estimation, but air temp is 77 degrees Fahrenheit. But there's the radar bottom right. There is nothing in sight there at all, Arjuna. So I am quite happy with our current weather situation.
Weather playing nice for these drivers. Does mean, like we said, it's the warmest session that they are racing in today. Decent preparation for the podium sprint, though, if you want to go in and dial your car slightly more for these warmer conditions. Might find yourself a little bit more on edge with a little less grip underneath you. Although in Club TR and Club SC as well, they're all running a stock tire, so not really much option for them in terms of what they can do. Yeah,
spec tire for Club SC and Club TR. That's the Falcon RT660 Plus or RT660. 255 width in TR and 205 width in SC. So you can't do a lot in terms of strategy there. You're just talking about pressures. And then everything else is up to the driver and the car that you build. So we get another look at Will Evans in the street mod, number 12. This is that turn 8.
again, and then up into 9. This has been a real trouble spot this weekend. We had some unfortunate incidents yesterday in the test day. In Eibach GLTC in particular, took out a couple of cars early on with the tire bundles at the exit of that corner. They tend to sort of grab you a little bit. And they were spinning some cars around right back into traffic, unfortunately. So everyone's all right, but just a messy afternoon with a couple of cars having some issues. There's Will Evans. You know what I love about this car is he's got license plates on it. And when you go talk about the intention of street mod, this is taking cars that are, quote unquote street legal to the very limit. And Will proudly representing that. Is that Illinois plate on there? Looks like it. But K20 C1 engine, that 2-liter inline turbocharged engine with the Civic Type R badges on it. And Devin Hoffman is back again. It's been a little while since we've seen her out in the turn-in concept Subaru.
What a noise.
Wow. Speaking of turbos.
Street mod's an interesting class because you still require full interiors. There's no horsepower restriction, and you're allowed some of that aftermarket aero. So we start to think about the more aerodynamic side of the time attack world, which is such an interesting thing when you look at some of the nuances that they'll work through. There comes the 12 sweeping through the outer loop.
So I've got good news for you, Arjuna. My speed trap it went dead a couple minutes ago, but it did successfully revive itself.
Nice.
So I'm really stoked about that. I have the threshold speed to display at 170 miles an hour. So if anyone goes over that, which will likely be in Group A, we will see that speed displayed. We could pop in on it now and then, but I think even at the threshold speed, just see who's going real fast down the backstretch.
You know what I'm looking forward to seeing? I count 1, 2, 3. GoPros off the side of the 973, so some pretty impressive footage, I would assume, coming from Luke Paglioni in that Civic SI as he fires it down to turn 1. Now, to talk about turn 1, because it's the start of the commitment on the lap. Track falls away from you, always difficult to feel confident that you're slowing down enough as you tip the car down the hill and to the right. Avoid the curb on the left too much. If you're not mechanically wanting to rework on your car overnight, shaking that suspension around, and then, if you can, keep your foot pinned to the floor and climb 110 feet of elevation. Why do I say if you can? Because when you've got 1,000 horsepower, there's no question you're lifting off to get through the S's.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the run down this backstretch. Nice traffic awareness from the black FL5 Civic, and he's going to jump into the inner loop here. Watch the curbs. He's not getting a lot of them. We were actually talking with Jackson about this with the reprofiling of that entry curb where it's flat. You don't actually really attack the curbing in the rest of the bus stop as hard now. You sort of float through and you hammer the last one, but the second and third curbs you used to jump a lot. I think you're going to see a little less of that now with that flat entry.
Luke definitely does seem like he's a bit remiss to go and attack the curbing, which not always the worst thing in the world. Like I said, shakes that suspension around, not always ideal, but then you drop down into the boot and you'll begin the climb up out of turn 8, where it's such an awkward corner to attack, and the drivers, I think, as you work through these laps, will just get a better feeling for what they want to do, get some better references as well.
Logan Geyer in the number 42.
Are you sure it's 42?
I think it was a different number before.
Okay.
Whoa, look at Maroney really charging the bus stop. And got a little greedy there, I think, and kind of had a bit of a lateral slide. But this next turn, the carousel, you're doing about 100 miles an hour through here, 10 degrees of banking came out, which is quite a bit for a road course. And that's part of the speed of this racetrack. It isn't just the grip of the pavement, which is relatively new, but it's also the amount of banking that you get to lean on is much more than other tracks we go to on the schedule. Yeah,
from Mario, I think he was given a bit too much confidence by the lack of curb on the entry into the bus stop. It allowed him to carry that extra speed in, and lucky that it did not bite him. Just looking, though, at times as the session slowly will draw to a close. Maroney 2:09.09. Now, just trying to pull up what he has done previously.
I think he's in the, okay, so he's a little quicker.
So he's already found about a second and a bit here.
But he needs to find some more, because Dan Persing has had a really good run. He's quickest in this session so far, but again, a lot of his competitors are going to be coming up in Group B. So I wonder if Mario's had some issues that he's so far down in the grouping, right? Because we're working Group C still.
Yeah.
And typically he's a Group B competitor, so I think he just needs to work on getting gridded up a little higher up the order.
And again, we don't grid them by classes necessarily in our groups here, but instead just by the speed that they've been doing through the course of the weekend. It's intended to match the cars based on speed more than anything. So that's a good point. Now, I'm just trying to look at the comparison between Evan McLaren's car and Mario Moroni's. They've got identical engines under the hood, although Moroni's car is a little bit heavier, so I'll be curious to see when our next group rolls out and we see the top of the Club TR class out there, what the visual differences are, where Moroni's losing some of that speed.
That's a great point. You know, where if you look at just that last lap, I would tell you the bus stop, but that's only looking at one potential time loss over the course of the lap. Again, just really hauling through there. Not as aggressive on the rumbles. And here's the other consideration. His car is a 1992 model year car. All the suspension and axles and all these things are designed for a lightweight 1990s economy car, not for slamming curbing at Watkins Glen at 100 miles an hour. That's a consideration. And we just got a checkered flag, and we're going to be right back. We're going to be on break. We'll be checking back in with Group B in just a moment's time. Welcome back to GridLife Summer Apex and the fourth round of 6 in the 2026 GridLife Championship. Kyle Heyer joined by Arjuna Kankapati and Jackson Lambros, just checkered on Group C, moving into Group B for our Track Battle Time Attack Championship. And Arjuna so far been nice and consistent out there, and drivers just getting more and more comfortable with the speed of this racetrack in the beautiful weather that we have. But we're making our way up into the faster and faster cars here coming up next. Getting into the cars that I've been really looking forward to. Seeing out here in action, you know, the ingenuity in time attack. I learned a lot at Gingerman. Yeah. I remember... Trial by fire? Trial by fire, that's for sure, drinking from the fire hose. There was a moment where we had talked about one of the GT cars having only one working headlight. Found out afterwards that's because they turned it into, what was it, an air intake or something along those lines. So all these unique things that are done at this level, and while we see gaps at the very top of the class, ultimately there's still so much development going on behind the scenes that sometimes we only know the tip of the iceberg as to the stories. There's so much going on behind the scenes. Yeah, and again, there's so much to keep up with. We're going to keep Jackson as busy as we can with 100 cars in time attack alone, not to mention the nearly 60 in the Rush Series, nearly 50 in GLTC, and over over 20 in the GRIDLIFE GT Championship here this weekend. Cars roll into the pit lane, and then they'll send Group B off and away. And on the left-hand side of your screen, once again, those are the fastest lap of the weekend times that you're seeing there. With that 144.209 from Alan Patton and a 146.081. And then Sasha Anise in the hybrid Nissan 350Z known as Kels, down to a 46.9. So this is going to be a really fun unlimited battle. And don't forget about Jake Ertel in the 379 car. He's right in the mix as well. So unlimited is healthy, and I think as Dewey says on the internet, a healthy unlimited is a healthy time attack.
I didn't get the chance to see too many of the truly unlimited cars at Gingerman, so excited to see a couple more of these four-figure horsepower cars. Championship fighting unlimited is still very much, I think, open as well, so lots for us to look forward to.
All right, so here's Peter Granberg rolling out, and one of the leaders in Falcon Club TR, Jackson Lambros, caught up with him.
Peter Granberg carrying off the momentum from a phenomenal Midwest Fest. Half day for you on track so far. What have you learned about Watkins Glen?
It's a lot of fun until it's not. You get really close to the walls and you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. But great track, beautiful place, probably my favorite.
When you come to a place where the track limits are the barriers, is it more excitement or anxiety when you're kind of doing those recon laps?
It's a little bit of both. You got to be a little bit of crazy to like kind of feel that way, so I think we all are, but it's fun at the end of the day.
3 different winners, 2 different manufacturers have already won in the first half of the season in Club TR. What does that say about the competitiveness of this class right now?
Oh man, Club TR is so competitive. Everyone's always within a couple hundredths, or sometimes even 1,000 from each other. Most of the time tenths, but this class is so competitive.
We'll let you get ready. We appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jackson. And while he works his way around the warm-up lap, another car in Group B is Matthew Bowers. He's actually one of our local drivers here this week. Hey, 1.21 gigawatts. Someone just tripped the speed trap at exactly 88 miles an hour. That's cool. So back to the future we go. But anyway, local boy, Matthew Bowers. Let's check in with Jackson.
To return then home, a fellow Rochester native, Kyle. Matt, how good does it feel to be back?
It feels amazing. I mean, we all can't ask for better weather. Everybody's been safe in here, and like you know, on that last time, this is hometown for me. So my family came up today, as you see out there. If you know the story, my mom, she'll be out tomorrow. So it's having your family around is awesome, your blood family, but so is your track family. So it's been amazing here with GRIDLIFE.
Really, really great news both on and off track for you. You come in with a little bit of time in the past couple of weeks. Do you feel like that gives you an advantage maybe in trying to qualify for podium sprint?
I don't know about an advantage, but I feel more confident. So as long as we're confident with ourselves in the car, I think that sets us up for a damn good weekend.
We appreciate the time. Thanks, Matt.
Sure, thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks again, Jackson. Cars are rolling. There's Bowers on track now, entering turn 10, running in the Street GT category. And here we go, on to start our first flying lap for Track Battle Group B. That C8 Corvette, what a machine they have built. Corvettes of all generations competing in a bunch of classes this weekend across Street GT and Street Mod and Track Mod, and Unlimited, in fact. But a lot of power available with this mid-engine layout, just basically a supercar for non-supercar prices these days. And you know, I was at Pikes Peak a couple of weeks ago as we got our first 150-plus mile-an-hour car on the speed trap, 151. We're going to see a lot of this. So we got the speed threshold set at 150 now. So anyone going north of that, we should see pop up. And it will be a lot of cars in this group, Arjuna, but a lot of really fast Corvettes here in the field.
We saw Tom O'Gorman go for a bit of a wild ride at Gingerman when he really pushed the Corvette a bit too hard. Nice top-end speed, seemingly, from the Subimods STI as it slinks in towards the inner loop. Now there's 2 of these STIs here this weekend. This is Nick Nazaro in a 2016 STI. 3,400 pounds weight to roll around the track. The Subimods, like I said, 2 of these cars. That's an older model. I think it's 2005. And that car is really fast. That was a 160-mile-an-hour car on the back straightaway yesterday. So I do
do expect Dye to be really competitive within Street Mod here this weekend, but you see on the left, Yoshihara currently leading in Street Mod. You'll note that Dewey DeWitt does not have a time yet. He had a troubled start to the day, and he came off the racetrack on a tow hook. Not exactly sure what, but he didn't seem overly concerned. He just said old Subaru problems and didn't elaborate further than that. So I'm sure we'll check in at some point. But Nick, looking good.
Just wait to see if we see any of these names pop up on our timing anytime soon. You were just mentioning Pikes Peak. Dai Yoshihara was there, and if I remember, quick post on social media that he made, did he have no ABS?
Who? Sorry.
Dai. Or did he have some sort of braking issue?
Probably.
Yeah, well, it's Pikes
I didn't
Peak.
see it.
It's known for braking tracks, cars, I should say, but yeah, that's not the best place to have a brake issue by any means, so I'm sure he'll be glad to be back on a more traditional sort of racing track. Nazzaro 7 seconds off of the pace of Yoshihara, but comfortably in the top 5 right now.
Yeah, that's good. And he podiumed the first couple events of the season, which took him by surprise. He was actually on the stream with me at Carolina Motorsports Park, and then he was like, oh, hey, I'm in podium sprint. And I said, you didn't know that? You've got to get back in the car, buddy. So he's had a really good year, and that car has been mighty quick. But there's Evan McLaren currently leading in Club TR to 206.371. At a 4/10 gap back to Jeremy Bailey. Now, Jeremy has been one of the drivers really pushing the limits of the regulations as it relates to removing weight from the car. Now this year, the change is now 2,500 pounds is your minimum weight no matter when your car was built or how you built your car. It's very difficult to get an FRS down to 2,500 pounds. So he was trying to figure out what can I cut out of this car to get it to 2,500 pounds. And they're taking all sorts of bracing out of the doors and things, just trying to find whatever they can that's not necessary to hold the car together, pushing the limits for sure. And he needs a little bit more to catch McLaren.
I'm wondering what else you can remove at this point. Again, that is also a little bit of the difference of front-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive. So there's the two different, methodologies of attacking the track as well. So maybe that could be part of it as well. It's just the reality of the limitations of the platform that they're on. Because at some point, you've achieved the most that your car can do. No driver wants to admit that, but it's possible.
Well, the other thing to consider at these long tracks with a lot of digs and long straightaways is the drivetrain loss from a rear-wheel drive car. So Evan McLaren's in a front drive machine, and you have an inherent disadvantage in some regards there, but one of the advantages is your wheel horsepower will be higher than a similarly equipped rear-wheel drive car. So that could be the difference. Peter Gramberg picks up to a 207.207 and up into third place right behind Bailey. Peter Gramberg has a K24 swapped Subaru BRZ, different than the FA24 Subaru powered FRS ahead of him in second place. So 3 different cars at the front, 2 of them Honda powered and 2 of them FRSs.
One thing to consider, maybe more when we get up to the unlimited class. At Gingerman, we talked about the race to beat the 130 and how important it was for the car to be cool, track to be cool. But a place like Watkins Glen, where the intimidation factor is so high, how many drivers are going to go out there and make the first time lap of the day, let alone a session, the quickest one? So our expectations for tomorrow, especially for someone like Dewey DeWitt, who has not set a time this weekend, it might be an interesting session tomorrow morning to kind of see how the drivers use 15 minutes.
It's a great point. I mean, the morning, I would expect to see track record pace in the morning. It's going to be nice and cool, low 70s, pretty much perfect conditions, and it'll get slower throughout the day. But this track is so sticky and grippy, repaved in 2016, but they did a really nice job with it, and it hasn't changed a lot as far as the grip over the years. So I don't think this track's going to fall off as much as a place like Gingerman does. So I wouldn't abandon the afternoon sessions unless you don't feel like you've got the reliability to make it through the weekend. This is one of those where if I'm comfortable with the car and it can run a lot of laps, I'm going to do what I can.
Haven't seen Dewey out there just yet, though, so
no.
We'll see if we can get an update from Jackson down on pit lane. What it means now, though, as we head through the penultimate of our groups, is these drivers slowly working their way through their final bits of track time today. It leaves us with more qualifying left after this, and that's rather consequential for the first racing, wheel-to-wheel racing that we'll do tomorrow.
Yeah, we've got drift after this, and then we've got those 3 qualifying sessions like you mentioned, and I'm excited because the only dry session we got in 2023 in our wheel-to-wheel classes was qualifying. Everything else was in the rain. So this is really the only apples-to-apples lap time comparison we have for 3 years worth of development in a class that was already fairly mature. So excited to see that. Here's Kevin View. Interesting thing here, he has a right-hand drive car. I noticed he's leaving a little more margin to the wall on the exit of 11. Because it's harder to judge how close you are there. If you're in a left-hand drive car, I feel like it's pretty easy to get right up against that thing and sort of feel comfortable with it. And there's 2 stages of rumble strips there, and they get higher pitch the closer you get to the wall. So if you're comfortable with your car, you're going to be right up against that safer barrier.
100% agree. Mentioned it slightly earlier. We saw an improvement from Willem Dries. He's now up to 3rd in street class, but still about a 1.5 seconds behind of Mike Coons in the 310. Mike did not improve so far from his earlier runs today, so he's still searching for a little bit of speed out there. As stealth black car must be feeling quite warm in the heat of the day.
Yeah, it's getting hot on our backs too here, but you mentioned Mike Coons, who is 2nd in street class at the moment, and Jackson actually caught up with Mike a minute ago.
It's Mike Coons still looking for his first win of the season here in street, but he's been looking very, very strong. But you come to this track for the first time in Grid Life history, at least in this car, it's low aero going between the blue barriers. Is it excitement or anxiety in the first couple of sessions for you so far?
It's excitement for me. I love the elevation change. It's so much fun. The rear stepped out a little more than I liked in the beginning. In some places you probably don't want it to. So I kind of dialed in, made it a little softer in the rear because it's faster to have a softer rear now to where it kind of sticks instead of, at a tighter track you want it to get wide and barrel out of there. So a little adjustment, but I think it's a blast. I love it. I'm not worried about it. You just go fast.
And obviously there's been a little bit of conversation coming into this weekend. How much are you talking with the other Subaru guys specifically? Because this car is in rotation heavily. Have you been talking to Halka and the other street guys at all?
Absolutely. I'm over there paddocked by the Turn-In Concept guys, which, they run a bunch of Subarus, the Subaru shop. Halka's over there. We've been kind of looking at data together. It's always been a team thing. Everybody wants everybody to go fast, so that we're all competing at the top level. He's been here before I haven't, so it's been more helpful to me than me to him. But yeah, I appreciate it. It's, it's fun. Everybody's out here to have fun and go as fast as you possibly can. The driving is going to be what matters, especially if we can all get ourselves real fast.
He's a full-time A1 audio engineer, guys, so if the Prime Production boys have any issues after this, we'll send him over to the trailer.
Oh, thanks, Jackson. Yeah, he's a smart guy. As we check back in with live action here on the racetrack, Carlos Alvarez in the 669 BMW M2 working through turn 1. Had to lift there on corner exit, heard him crack the throttle. When you get down into one, there is a lot of banking there too. It's one of those turns that if you get on power a little too soon, Arjuna, ooh, I hear someone sliding up. I should also note that there is a Dodge ride-along activation.
A skid pad area.
Yeah, and a drift skid pad, so we're gonna hear a lot of screeching down there at turn 1. But anyway, Jeremy Bailey is wrapping up his lap here. We're coming back to a checker. So no pickup from what I can tell this session to 206.6. I haven't seen that number change.
It was an improvement by about 1/10 of a second,
all right,
which should mean new drivetrain record for the class. But he's still looking for, like you say, we're talking just over 2/10 right now between him and Evan McLaren. It's a very fine margin between them as Group B comes to a close.
And here comes Peter Gramberg up the front straightaway and to cross the line. Didn't see a pickup that time. No pickup. And with that, checkered flag is out for Group B. Group A is up next, and make sure we catch what just happened.
It was an improvement.
Oh, okay. It took a second to hit, but it was a pickup.
206.7.
Okay, so right in the mix, right alongside Jeremy Bailey there. So we'll step away for a moment. We'll be back with Group A right after this, the fastest cars in North America.
When we modify our cars, we do it to feel a greater connection, a more responsive feel between ourselves and the road.
Welcome back to upstate New York and Watkins Glen International. Kyle Heyer joined by Arjuna Kankapati and Jackson Lambros for round 4 of 6 in the 2026 GRIDLIFE TrackBattle Championship, working through our third heat of 7 this weekend before our podium sprint that decides the rest of the order on Sunday. We are just about to roll Group A, the fastest cars of the weekend as far as your speeds around this racetrack. And Arjuna, we have seen a couple of cars do 190 plus. I know that Mike Dussault, who was the driver that ran 190 this morning and yesterday, is not planning on running this session. We heard that Alan Patton and the Louis Gelati group are working through some issues as well. Hey, Dussault is showing up, so we're going to get a show. Sasha Anise is there as well, so I'll eat my words there and happily.
I'm very excited. Cal Fortner, I saw his Mercedes rolling as well. Now, he had ABS issues at Gingerman. I'm hoping he was able to resolve some of that, but I've got to say, my eyes are focused towards these four-figure beasts. Already sparks flying as the aerodynamic elements at the front scrape on the ground, dropping down out of pit lane. But one thing I noticed slightly earlier on today, and I'm curious if it's still the same as slow roll on lap 1, but I'm pretty sure on Dussault's car, there's a little aero element on the front right, which is not then present on the front left. So we'll keep an eye out here as they head up into the corner. You can see it.
Yep.
The right side's got like an extra flap or something that the left does not.
I'll bet you that's intentional.
But my brain's thinking there's a lot more fast right-hand corners here. Wouldn't you want that on the other side? But I'm definitely not the professional, guys. Don't trust me.
Intuition says yes, but maybe data says the other way around. So, you know, very data-driven. Now, Mike was talking to me yesterday in the paddock, and he was actually overlaying his data with a Trans Am TA1 car. And he was going faster and braking later than the TA1 car and sustaining the corner G of that car, too. So, you know, that kind of gives you a rough estimate of how fast we're going. For reference, the IMSA GTD lap time record is a mid-143 here, so that's kind of the conversation. These are home-built cars that are, you know, much less expensive than a GT3 car, but yet running very similar pace. Sasha Anise and Mike Dussault trying to get sorted here, get their tires up the temp, but this morning I saw Dussault at 186 on the speed trap. And as of now, I can confirm that it's still working. So next time by, we should get a pretty wild speed on this. I've been waiting a month, Arjuna, to see this car rolling down the backstretch, see the graphic pop up through the heat haze. This should be good.
7-liter V8 under the hood of that car, all going through a 6-speed sequential manual gearbox. Now, it does have Michelin Pilot Sport slick tires underneath, so in that regard, it's, you know, fairly close to a GT3 perhaps, but the speed that it carries, wild sparks out the front as drop down through turn 1, and now no guarantee he's flat up through the S's.
Yeah, he told me he has to do a nice confidence lift, big slip out from the apex there, but he's comfortable, uses the rumbles up the hill and sailing down the back straightaway. Mike Dussault, over 1,000 horsepower in this Camaro. What is it going to do into the bus stop here as we head into the inner loop? It is 189 miles an hour into the inner loop. What an unbelievable time and speed into the bus stop.
And
wow.
To compare, Anise, I think, did a 152, so we're still very quick, but it's just not as on the limit. 190, tipping it into the bus stop, that is wild. To put it in context, that's faster than what an IMSA GTP prototype's doing into that corner.
Oh, I've been waiting all month to see that on the screen. I'm so happy, Arjuna. I can't tell you what a cool lap this is going to be. And again, any new time that you see at the top of Unlimited will be a track record. These are the best times we've ever seen at Watkins Glen for us. So any improvement over Patton's time will be a record.
He needs to find 2 seconds, though, really, to get into that ballpark. Now, is this a car which is capable of doing more than 1 flying lap without getting too warm?
He's done a couple. I don't think it'll do more than 3, but he seems to be comfortable running a couple. He's got Michelin slicks, so it'll last a few laps at least on the tire.
Okay. I'm falling back on your experience as Mr. GRIDLIFE here, but it's looked a good lap. I mean, it's controlled. There's still speed at all elements. Jeremy Clarkson always used to say that a calm lap doesn't look fast. And I think that's kind of what we saw. He's found a second.
Wow, 145, 556. Here's Sasha Anise. This is Kels. This car is not what it seems on the outside. It is an all-carbon Nissan 350Z, a 4.2-liter VQ V6 under the hood of this car. but it does have electric motors attached to it and a hybrid system with custom software controlling the output. At full song, about 700 horsepower, 750 at its best, but 177 for Dussault that time. But for Anise this weekend, he had some electric motor issues. They've downsized them slightly, and now we're going to be in the range of about 650 horsepower, but it's still making good lap times. A 146.9, his best of the weekend.
Still light, 2,900 pounds compared to the rest of the unlimited class. There's only one car lighter, and that's an actual full-blooded GT3 car that John Veloso has brought out once again. So it's built quite well. Look at the speed, though, from Cal Fortner, who jumps clear of Dai Yoshihara.
Yeah, and I believe that's a new street mod record for Cal. He was actually the record holder the last time we were here in 2023. So move up the benchmark a couple seconds further for the AMG.
And I tell you what, he will have sorted those ABS issues from Gingerman, because a track like this, I would feel very, very uncertain if my ABS was giving me issues.
Yeah, and also this is opportunity, right? Oh, Sasha, a little into track limits, but
that's okay.
You know, for Cal, take the opportunity. Dewey's struggling. This is a great weekend to pounce. And Dewey hasn't been here before also, so you can lean on your experience. Cal was here back in 2023.
That's a really good step as we head past the halfway mark of the season then. I think Dewey is going to have to really use the track time he's got tomorrow. Dussault finds another tenth of a second or so, but he's still looking for 1.2 seconds. Now, he lost 10-mile-an-hour entry speed into the bus stop, but only found some more time. So it really goes to show us that the top-end speed is not everything, right? The speed through the corners here at Watkins Glen is so crucial.
So while Sasha climbs up the S's again, let's check in with Dai Yoshihara. Jackson Lambros is there.
Yeah, guys, some issues there, I believe, for Dai Yoshihara. He took the Subaru in early, and it was clearly a scheduled stop, but smoke was coming out of the hood. Not too much, but I believe some kind of issues for the Subimod guys. Going to go over to the tent. We'll try and get you guys some answers on that.
Thanks, Jackson. Yeah, just, again, you're always chasing issues in time attack. That's part of the game. And Jackson looking quite majestic there as we got trouble. And this is trying to get a look at that from the, that's Jeremy Lauder, unfortunately, between turns 7 and 8, and he was not able to make it to a cutout. So that will likely bring an end to Track Battle Group A here. Sasha tracking right out to the edge of the road there at 8. What great sounds this car makes, though. Ooh, little lockup.
Little pinch of the inside front tire as he heads up through the tricky, terrible turn 9. Now, where Jeremy is stopped is just past where one of the cutoffs is, but I think probably not aware of the issue potentially until it was a little too late, and now finds himself stranded in a really awkward place. There's still some uphill to get over before you can maybe just limp down into the next cutoff right on the edge of turn 8. So there we go, full course yellow as Sasha Anise found a bit of time.
Yeah, just a little bit, a couple tenths of a second, but there's that full course. And I was going to say, if the car was capable, he would do it. Jeremy Lauder is no stranger to climbing mountains. He did it just a couple months ago at the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. So unfortunate mechanical issue for him. Here's Veloso in the ex-IMSA GTD Acura NSX. And there's the debris flag and the yellow, which makes me think we might have some fluid as well. But again, a lot of the unlimited cars tend to be faster in the early part of the session, so I think we got to see the drama that we were all hoping for. And I got the clip, and hey, there it is again. Someone is going back to the future here, Arjuna.
I wonder if someone's told them, go 88 miles an hour if there's a full course yellow, so you can trigger the graphic that will make Kyle happy.
When I made that little Easter egg, I didn't actually expect to see it get hit that much, but I've seen it 5 or 6 times today, so.
I love it. I think Cal Fortner's probably one of the stories. Ooh, it's smoke billowing from.
I wonder if that's brakes even, just sitting there?
I see some sparks or something as well. So was that Jeremy out of the car that we saw?
It could be. It looked like it might have been a worker, actually.
I wasn't quite sure, but if there is any potential there for fire, I hope Jeremy is aware. All these cars do have fire systems, of course, but as we're all aware, Fire is not something you want to mess around with, and that's something we'll talk about in our qualifyings coming up later on.
Great story about one of our GRIDLIFE GT competitors for you. If you've been out of the loop, you'll be in it later, I promise. So with that, I don't expect this to go back green. Just looking at the schedule and things, 3:35 is when the next drift full course was going to come out. That is not Jeremy out of the car. That is a safety worker over there, so that's good. He might also be out of the car, but there is a safety worker over there too.
Okay.
So that's good news. I still think it might just be hot brakes.
Yeah, whatever sparks I was seeing in the windshield.
Oh.
Very glad to see that's gone. It might just be a reflection of some kind that I had been spotting. But ultimately, good session overall. And now we get to talk about drift at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, drift is I'm excited to see this because, again, we only got like one dry session with drift in 2023. The rest of the weekend was wet. So that's coming up in a couple of minutes. But unfortunately for Jeremy Lauder, he was real excited a couple of minutes ago. He caught up with Jackson Lambros. Let's check in with Jackson and see what Jeremy had to say.
Kyle talked to him a couple of weeks ago, but Jeremy Lauder back from Pikes Peak. Let's start with that. You've done it a couple of times. How was this go at Pikes Peak?
And it was great until the car stalled. Oh! Next year's the year. Next year's the year.
This car has gone through a lot, but another time at Watkins Glen for you. What have you learned so far this weekend?
I need to go faster.
Is that it? Just going faster in general, or?
That's it. Just got to go faster. Got to dial the driver in, not the car.
That sounds like a plan. He did run Gingerman, by the way, guys. He was on the entry list, only ran Thursday, then immediately went to the mountain. The answer for him, I just had to run Midwest Fest.
Unfortunately for Jeremy Lauder, the session will not end in such a cheerful manner, Arjuna, but that is the trials and tribulations of track battle and time attack. So I think we'll probably end this one here, and we'll move on to drift in a minute. But what are your thoughts?
He's third in points, and despite only running one day of Midwest Fest, still got decent enough points to be in a decent spot in the championship. So no wonder he's got a smile on his face.
Yeah, he's doing well. He drove to Gingerman before Pikes Peak just to get a couple of laps on the board and did just that. But we're going to step away for a few minutes. Track battle Heat 3 complete, and we will see drift in just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back.
Every day, you trust your car with the things you care about most. At FCP Euro, we deliver you quality European car parts without compromise. What drives you is what drives us. We're driven by quality, researched and curated. Every part earns its place on our shelves. If we wouldn't put it on our cars, we won't sell it to you. Driven by trust and expertise, obsessed with the details, offering the right parts, guidance, and support when you need it most. We're driven by you, keeping your European cars on the road for the last 40 years. Head to fcpeuro.com to shop quality European car parts and get 5% off your first order over $149.
And welcome back to Watkins Glen International as Jeremy Lauder's car being towed off the racing circuit. There's a look at it just a few moments ago. Unfortunate mechanical problem. We'll likely get an update and find out exactly what went wrong, but he was very excited to get on the racetrack, and I can't tell by looking at it what's wrong, but that's often the case. Great looking livery on this car, though, that he put on for the 104th running of the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, which I had the pleasure of announcing for the 4th straight year. That is a really cool event. In a lot of ways, feels like a grid life. Very scrappy on the grounds, but just so much fun to see an international event take on America's Mountain on the 250th year of American history and 150th year of Colorado history. So it was a pretty cool year. Fans are loading in, and we've got a great music schedule and lineup. You can view it all on the schedule, gridlife.club/schedule/summer-apex, and that will get you the schedule with the lineup. But it's Bunt headlining tonight, and then it's Teddy Payne tomorrow, and then Shaq as DJ Diesel on the main stage. So really hoping that a lot of folks will try this event out. This is, again, the first year festivals, Arjuna. They take a little time to kind of wind up a few years to get everyone to be like, hey, with this grid life thing, let's go check it out. So you can certainly do that. We're also sitting in the Racer R92 Lounge, and it's accessible to anyone here at the racetrack with a Racer subscription. Just show proof of purchase, and you can come on up and join us and hang out with us up here.
It's a nice place to sit. We're right next to the Sir Jackie Stewart grandstand as well. Great view of turn 10, and we saw a little bit of this drifting earlier before we went on air, and some of the drivers through turn 10 were really putting in some good effort. What an effort from the team to finish up the build on the NOS Energy main stage. There's a couple of special surprises behind that stage as well, but DJ Diesel and Teddy Payne, we'll have to see if we can get them into the booth at some point, mainly just so I can see how tall Shaq is. I'm really quite curious. I'm 6'5". He's probably one of the few people that can make me feel small.
Yeah, you know, someone asked earlier, like, do you think we could get Shaq into a car?
No.
And the answer is no.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd love to. He'd fit in a convertible, but you got to pass the broomstick test. Basically, if your head's sticking out over the roll bars, that's a no-go. So anyway, drift cars on track. Now, you know, I was wondering how many takers we were going to have for full course drift this weekend because this track is so grippy, so sticky, and the corner radii are quite large. And this is a fast racetrack. You have to have a lot of power to get this done.
We've already had someone have a bit of an issue through the bus stop, but as much as this is a grippy track, I would assume that it's one where the flowing nature of the corners does lend itself to high-power cars that can work. Now, turn 8 is probably one of the trickier places, up the hill as well to carry that momentum through, but down through turns 5 and 6, that must be fun.
It is fun, and I just, it's such a high-risk corner, though. I'm surprised that they're going at it, but these guys are fearless, and it's so fun to watch them get after it. At a track that's legendary like this, one of GRIDLIFE's sort of central goals is to mix the different disciplines of motorsport together. There's a lot of race fans here that, if they're native to the Watkins Glen road racing thing, will have never seen drift before. And a lot of people don't get it. And what we do here is we put the drift cars on the full course and we bring that context to you to show you, hey, this is, we saw 189 miles an hour on the backstretch. How about 140 sideways? Right? That's what this is all about.
And they're close to that. We did look at some of the speed trap numbers earlier, so you're not far off when you say that 140 number by any means. Always some interesting builds to look at as well. Love myself a wagon. Subaru wagon gets a couple of extra bonus points potentially as well. We got the My Little Pony Mustang that's sawing the rear end one way than the other, and then throw it back a couple more years in terms of decades of car.
I love a Fox body. Hey, we got an 88-mile-an-hour entry into the bus stop.
Sideways, let's go.
Wow, that's cool. This is a neat shot into turn 11 here. Again, on corner X, you got to watch those quarter panels out there. And they're leaving some margin, it looks like.
Yeah, don't blame them.
So this turn 5, the carousel, this is a 100-mile-an-hour corner in a grip car. So getting sideways here has got to be a big challenge, and we're seeing drivers really struggling to keep that angle. And with the banking being so severe, you actually sort of run down the racetrack. So maybe a little bit of left foot brake as well to keep the car riding the rim rather than plunging towards the inside line.
I wonder if maybe like a reverse drift. So instead of the traditional line, the reverse sort of drift might work decently and then swing you up to the top of the track. That sounds like a lot of risk, though, that I'm hoping none of these drivers are looking to try and take on.
Burton Mackey's here in the 1969 Plymouth Satellite, which we've seen on track. That thing is a pretty wild car. And 6.2 liter LS3 in that car. And there he is. I think that's the Plymouth. I was looking to see if there's any other kind of classic American muscle out there, but I think he's the only one. We just saw Mike Cattell in the 02 BMW Sport Wagon. He's got a 2JZ in that car.
Very cool. I feel like some people heard me say I like a good wagon at Midwest Fest and just decided to bring them.
Yeah, all the wagons all the time, yeah.
Never a complaint.
We're only one stop short of minivan at this rate, though. We got to talk to Hart, Alabama.
Yeah, let's go get that Odyssey, please. We didn't talk about the Fit EV in the end, by the way.
I don't think it made it on track.
It ran in Group D. We just haven't talked about it because it wasn't very quick.
Yeah.
But what an interesting project to turn a Honda Fit into an EV. How much power does it have?
About 130.
Enough.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, more than the regular Fit has.
Yeah, probably too much for the front wheels.
Right.
At the standard tire size that it probably runs.
They sent me the dyno curve for that car, and it was like a spike and then flat, and it was just, I can only imagine, I think it was like 1,400 foot-pounds at 0 RPM, something crazy. It was like just tons of torque.
It's got the full road interior as well. There is nothing seemingly changed inside about it.
Yeah, I think, 2011 cloth seats. I mean, really nothing very grippy to hold Cole Francetic into that car. New Edge Mustang, got a handful of these in the paddock again this weekend. And again, my other question was, how many corners are they going to drift here? Because the boot is mostly out of the sight of race fans here at this track, unless you have people kind of figure out that secret tunnel that leads you down there. But they're not shy right now.
Give them an opportunity to drift and they will, right? Regardless of where. That's a cool shot.
Yeah, there's Burton Mackey. The Plymouth Satellite through the bus stop.
And now back the other way. Keep it, hold it, into the outer loop. Oh, let's go.
He's got wheel speed, just got to keep the angle. Beautiful.
Oh, and again, this is, he's got plenty of grip, right? It's about controlling all that power underneath you, and he's probably lit up the rear tires long enough that now they need a bit of a break.
I would guess probably if you asked, how many laps do you get on a set of tires, it's probably 0.6.
Yeah, how many corners?
Guess. Right.
Yeah, measure it in corners, not laps.
Yeah. It's like gallons per mile.
And I wonder, you talk about the grippy track surface. Do they bring maybe a slightly different tire for this track?
That's a great question. I mean, a lot of drivers with their setups are probably pretty happy or consider in their setup the tire grip level that they have. But that's maybe a consideration if they've been here in 23. Perhaps, hey, this is a stickier racetrack. We have a lot more grip available to us. Maybe we don't have to run such a sticky tire. I'd be really interested to talk to a drift professional and ask, track grip versus tire grip.
Right.
Does it change how the car drives if the grip is coming more from the track than the tire? That's a really fascinating question, actually.
And setup, we haven't maybe talked about it too much in the time attack, except referencing that these are similar conditions to what the drivers will experience in podium sprint. But I talked to just enjoying the engine noise, excuse me. I talked to Dai Yoshihara's teammates a couple of weeks ago, and they told me that they haven't made a setup change on their car this season because they've just found the window for the car. No matter what track you go to, Daytona, Sebring, maybe a camber adjustment here or there, but like that's minor in the grand scheme of things. So for a lot of these drivers who have so much history in their cars, have developed that data bank of knowledge, what works, what doesn't work, you just have that intuition on what's good and what's not.
Yeah, I think everyone will have a baseline that they start with and you tweak from there, I'm sure. Evan Bogovic and Sonia Klaus for Falcon chasing around turn 7 at the toe of the boot. And we talked about it a little bit in the intro, but why do they call it the boot? Well, it's very simple. From the sky, it looks like they just stuck a foot on the end. They call it the boot. So we've got the laces at turn 6, the toe at turn 7. This is the heel of the boot. And then we come up the hill and sort of rejoin at the top of the ankle back onto the short course.
I've got a terrible thing to say, but you know how I remember that? What hits you first when you get kicked?
The toe?
No, laces.
Oh.
Toe.
Okay. Sure, I can buy that.
That's how I kind of remembered it. But you're right, does look like it when you look from above.
Yeah.
But as someone who's now makes a living from remembering what names corners have.
This is one of these racetracks. I like when there's a combination of corner names and corner numbers.
Because you get a reference of where things are without everything needing a number.
Right, and I also don't love tracks that are all corner names.
Because there's no reference of where.
Right,
Yeah.
so I like the mix. And here, a lot of the turns have names. Like turn 1 is called the 90, but I think most people will call it turn 1. The S's are just the S's, turns 2, 3, and 4. The
inner loop.
The inner loop, which that's the real name for it. Everyone sort of calls it the bus stop by the shape that a bus makes when it pulls to the curb. Right, left, right. And then, of course, you've got all the name turns down here, but I always call it, turn 6, turn 8. I don't call those by anything. But, yeah, it's a good mix and gives you some context for where you are in the lap.
But the question is, how many corners is the bus stop?
So, all right.
We're getting into the weeds of corner numbering here,
So,
aren't we?
in my opinion, it's 4, but I only count them when we're running the short course, so that the corner numbers still line up at the back half of the track.
So you get back to turn 10.
Yes.
Okay.
And the carousel is either turn 5 or turn 9, depending on which layout you're running.
That is great. I like that.
And then when we're running the full course, then we don't count it. That's how I do it, and I might be insane, but...
Hey, at least there's a logic to be followed there, right? Instead of just people saying, we're going to call it because we did.
iRacing says 12.
No.
Disagree.
Disagree.
And I don't know how they got there.
Yeah, there is no logical way to end up at 12.
No, you could argue 15.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. You could add all 4 in, and then you suddenly end up 12? No iRacing. But to be fair, iRacing's got all sorts of weird things if you go and look. Track lengths can be wrong as well.
They've got Forza on the arcade systems here this weekend, and there's some really cool stuff cooking with Forza, so stay tuned.
The first thing that I did when I got home after GridLife Midwest, boot up Forza, drive the GridLife car in the game.
Yeah.
You know how cool I felt?
It's so cool.
Almost as cool as these drifters.
Yeah, Sean Bassett has his Datsun Z in Forza Horizon 6, so if you are interested, I believe it's a car pass car, but you can get it and drive it. It is so much fun.
That's why it didn't show up in my list of cars until a certain date. Now it's all clicking in my mind why I didn't see it before Midwest Fest.
Someone said drift here, so fast, or so, what do they say? So satisfying, and I agree. Something about painting the racetrack with some rubber.
Especially when you can connect these corners up together. Now, turn 9 is a weird one. Because of the camber, lack thereof, I would actually think it would be one which is a lot of fun to drift over the crest of. Now, the margin on exit here is so fine, that's where the risk really comes in, and drivers sticking into the middle of the track, and I don't blame them on that one.
A lot of manjiing going on, swinging from side to side on your run up to the next turn to keep the wheels spinning so that you don't have to reinitiate. And
is that what they call it?
They call it a manji. Okay. Now, there are lots in the community that will tell you that manjiing is cheating, and that if you want to link it together properly, you have to sustain one continuous drift from one corner to the next.
I disagree, mainly because I can't do that on Forza Horizon.
Yeah, I think manjiing's cool. I might be in the minority here. I don't come from a drift background, but big send into the 90, big send down here.
He almost clipped the grass on entry. Now, be careful, that curve can unsettle you. He did a good job to actually swing wide to avoid bouncing over it and then blends back onto the track. There's no drifting up through the S's, though. Let's be clear on that one. No one's going to do that.
I don't think you'll have a really good time. Someone's either done it in turn 2 or crashed in turn 2. One of those options.
They do it up here at the top, but never. I haven't seen it at the bottom where it's a wall. It's 110 feet. You're at the very bottom of the track, effectively, not quite to the highest point because you keep climbing from the S's up into the bus stop chicane, but intimidation factor here, it's sky high.
Burton Mackey again through 8, really tight to the inside. That's what I mean. It's just your corner radii are so long that to carry that speed and kind of drive the typical racing line, you have to carry a lot of speed into the turn, and you got to work up to that. And have the RPM available to you to do it as well.
And have sets of tires spare after this to come back out tomorrow, please, and thank you.
We do have a skid pad, and I wonder if that will become increasingly patronized as they use up their tires on the full course. But
I hope the Falcon trailer brought enough tires for those drivers. Looking forward to seeing those Falcon cars. What an entry down onto pit lane.
Hey, you know what, Arjuna, we're at Watkins Glen. It's not raining. We've had a great day so far. I'm having a blast. This is such a cool moment for me to be back near my hometown. This is the track that started it all for me back in 2007. My friend Joel took me here on their family vacation. Joel's coming on Sunday with his dad, and it's always a pleasure to come back here. And for a couple of years, none of the schedules I worked on came here.
Let you come back.
So it's good to be back, have an excuse to drive through and see the parents who are sitting behind me. Just a lot of fun to be back at home.
It's one of my favorite weekends of the last 2 years, come here for the sail in 6 hours of the Glen. Not just because they have Froyo in the media center, and what a great media center that is as well. Such good memories though. As much as sometimes when I've come here, it's been very scrappy, including this year. A lot of people would have seen the crash we had in Lamborghinis.
Yep.
We had the multiple incidents then, and the WeatherTech race up through the S's as well, the curb going and disintegrating during Pilot Challenge. It's a track that challenges teams and drivers in such unique ways, and that's what makes it so fun as well. A lot of the drivers tell me, the pro drivers, that this is the most physically demanding race for them over the course of the year. With the way that our sessions work, nothing really being longer than 15 minutes, that's not such a big factor. But if there's anyone who's been really hitting the gym hard in the summer, they're probably going to come here and be pretty good, I would think, especially when you think of the heat that they'll deal with in the cockpit too.
Yeah, heat in the cockpit and just the cornering G. There's a lot of sustained G load, and especially when you're talking about GTP prototype machinery, that is a lot of force that you're subjecting your neck to. And if you've ever been in a real downforce car, the highest downforce vehicle I've ever been in was a Radical SR3, which is pixie stuff in comparison to a GTP. But your neck hurts after just a couple of laps. You really have to be in good shape, and that's really when you start getting into the athlete status as far as road racing is concerned.
Oh, yeah. Let's not start on that debate. Are race car drivers athletes or not?
Well, it depends. I think that a lot of race car drivers are athletes. I'd say that you can definitely be one without being an athlete.
I mean, you can also be, there's many sports where you do not have to be prime athletic condition to still be a prime competitor. So, yeah, I've always found that one interesting. There's obviously a benefit to the physical work that is done. It helps you mentally behind the wheel. But that's not to say that someone who has done years of sim racing doesn't have that same mental strength and the ability to focus, which is something that sim racing is actually probably better for than real world racing. You act as your own engineer, you act as your own spotter. You are the one-man operation that's thinking about everything while you're driving, and it helps you when you get into a pro race car when you don't have to think about that. And now you've got extra brain capacity to spend on, driving the car fast.
Yeah, it's at least the consideration of all those factors, right? I mean, versus coming in and just having the driving, understanding what makes the sport tick and understanding how important setup is and how important the crew chief and spotting is. All those things you can learn there and translate here. And we've seen a lot of drivers, especially in our wheel-to-wheel categories, using it as a training tool. I think games and simulators are only what you make of them. Just because you use it doesn't mean you're using it in a way that is helpful. But that's true even of real-world practice. You can certainly drive a car on a racetrack in a way that's not useful to get better. If you're just doing laps without any sort of goal, what are you really learning, right?
Always need to have some sort of intention as you look to try and further your racing journey. And that's especially important when you talk about our 15-minute sessions that we have, right? Practice is so limited for our competitors. Don't have time to come in, make a setup change, and go try it in the same session, right? So, I mean, 15 minutes here is maybe 8 laps at most, 7 laps to go out there, get a decent feel for the car, come back in, talk maybe over it with some of your competitors, as we've heard, some of the Subaru competitors sharing data and looking over things together. But there's so much that people don't think about with race car drivers that makes them athletes. So, yeah, I'm happy to have the debate. I know you and I are on the same side of this a bit.
I fought it a lot harder when I was younger, I think.
Okay.
Because I grew up in a football town, right? So it was, watching motorsport was not the popular thing to watch.
Fair. And to be fair, football's actually probably a great example of physical appearance doesn't always describe what your fitness level is. You look at some of those athletes who have a lot of weight, but then move so quickly. I'm sure we have some people watching who aren't in the US. I grew up outside. First time I went and saw an NFL game, blown away by just how quickly they're able to move.
Well, here's what I can tell you is that there is a Buffalo Bill joining us this weekend with his drift car. Dion Dawkins is joining us this weekend. So
he fits.
He does.
But not Shaq.
Correct. I think he's in a E46, so those cars are a little bigger on the inside. But happy to have him here this weekend and excited to have him join the party. Just a couple minutes left here in drift before we take a break, and then we'll head off to our 3 qualifying sessions for our wheel-to-wheel series. If you're wondering, once again, the schedule can be found at gridlife.club/schedule/summer-apex, and it will be the GRIDLIFE Rush series up first, followed by GRIDLIFE GT, then Eibach GLTC to wrap up our broadcast for the day. And then tomorrow, bright and early, we are live at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're not broadcasting the morning warm-ups, but we will be live for the races. The first race of the day will be 10:30 a.m. The Rush Series, of course, kicking things off with Track Battle Heat 4, prime record-breaking opportunity.
They're trying to rob me of 30 minutes of sleep, it sounds like, but tomorrow should be good. Build up, of course, into the first wheel-to-wheel racing action, and of course, getting closer to podium sprint. Dewey DeWitt, one of the drivers that's really got to make use of the morning with the limited track time he's had.
All right, well, the drift cars are wrapping up their cool-down lap, sort of, and we're going to step away. We'll be back with GRIDLIFE Rush Series qualifying right after this.
You boys up for a challenge? How about this? Anything you can do, I can do faster. Okay, bro. I'm gnarlier than you. I get more sideways. I'm louder. Much louder. I get wilder than you. You sure about that, bro?
Harder. Slicker. Cooler. Tougher. Let's go.
So what you got?
We're past the halfway point in the 2026 GRIDLIFE Rush Series season. It's round 4 of 6 for 2026. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Arjuna Kankapati and Jackson Lambros in the pit lane. And we're about to go qualifying for the Rush Series before our 4 races kicking off tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. But Arjuna, 56 cars, a record-sized entry list for this weekend. I'm so excited. Getting a clean lap here is going to be tricky, so I'd imagine a lot of the teams are going to coordinate here and try to get the best lap they can in the next 15 to 20 minutes.
Probably slightly easier than it was at Gingerman, at this even more tight and compressed track, but you are right. The track position game going to be important. Draft probably somewhat valuable as well on the climb out of turn 1, the 90 up in towards the inner loop. But I think most importantly, we've been sitting here in the sun, these drivers sitting there as well, heating up before what is going to be an interesting 30-minute session. Lots of time to go and get the lap if you can go and find it.
Yeah, tons of time to do it, and again, coordination and cooperation are going to be key here with so many cars on the grid. The other topic of conversation, we've touched on it so far, track limits. When you're digging for speed here, it's so easy to slip up at turn 1. We've talked about the curbing and how rough it is. The rushes are very compliant over curbs, and they will attack them where they see fit. But there's a crown on the curbing at the exit of turn 1, and we've seen it damage some cars already this weekend. So don't get in a mental fog chasing someone and go out wide and ruin your weekend just trying to get a little greedy on those exit curbs. It is critical. Top speeds here, I've seen about 125 to 128 miles an hour in these cars, but very high performance machines, 150 horsepower out of a GSX S motorcycle engine. They rev to 11,000 RPM. They sound awesome. Visit Rush Auto Works' website if you'd like to learn more on how to get involved. There's a whole bunch of dealers and teams that will be happy to give you an experience on a test day, but they're some of the lowest cost spec racing that you can do in North America right now. And again, no lack of entrants here. 56 cars trying to get geared up. This means, I think, Arjuna, this is the most important session of the weekend because it's so consequential to how the rest of the weekend goes.
Yeah, the limelight really is shone on the drivers, not just because of that, but because of the slightly increased attention that they'll have this weekend. Spencer Pickett, former IndyCar driver, joining the grid, as does Randy Post, who's of course had a long history both in the automotive media space, but also as a factory race car driver, but somewhat later in his career. So you've got some interesting storylines joining a championship that's midway through and starting to see a couple of runaway leaders at the front.
Well, one of the drivers that we expect to be up front that already had a little damage from those rumble strips I talked about is Andy Vogel, and Jackson Lambros has caught up with him just before qualifying. Jackson, what you got, bud?
He's had a couple really great weekends so far in the GRIDLIFE Rush Series. Unfortunately, Andy, your start to the weekend not the way maybe was going to plan. Talk to me about what happened there in the first session.
Yeah, we were just testing the limits a little bit, seeing if we could use that turn 1 exit curbing, and you cannot in a rush. You can in a GT3 car, but it will rip the floor off the rush, so don't do it.
You were just kind of talking to some of the other people in the paddock. You guys are sick of the LEM guys being out in front. What's it going to take to make that happen?
I think just strong performance and consistency. Blair and James are always consistent, and I think, every track that we've showed up, the diversion, turn-in, motorsports crew, always seem to have the pace on the data. Sometimes we just can't replicate it on the track. So I think we just got to pull what we can from the data and put it on track, and we shouldn't have a problem.
We appreciate the time. Thanks, Andy.
Absolutely.
Back upstairs to Kyle.
Thanks, Jackson. I was just wondering who tripped our speed trap at 137 miles an hour before we saw cars roll on the racetrack. That would be your Hyundai Hot Laps experience that fans can sign up for and get on the racetrack and experience a couple different models of Hyundai and machines. So that was who was flying by the back straightaway just a moment ago. There's Andy Vogel right there on the end of the pit lane, right by Carson. There's some of those Hyundais. There's an Elantra N TCR. They've got a couple other Elantra N machines and an Ioniq 5N as well. That car has done north of 140 on the backstretch, confirmed it myself today. So really fast speeds and really fun for the fans here to be involved. So tickets are still available if you're within a couple of hours of Watkins Glen. I bet you're a lot closer than you think if you're in the Northeast. Still worth checking it out at grid.life and head over to the Summer Apex page to learn more.
Yeah, cool to see my friends at Brian Herder Autosport out here supporting the Hyundai crew, not just the team, but lots of the drivers here as well. I know Bryson Morris, Mark Wilkins, and a couple of others are here and giving a couple of those hot laps. So yeah, you've got some drivers who have success in that car, and what a successful TCR program Hyundai have built over the years. Not just in the most recent model, but a couple of other ones. They were so strong, they decided let's build some more TCR cars.
Why not? Yeah. There's also some star drivers here this weekend that we should talk about. Randy Popst is behind the wheel of one of these Rush SR machines, as well as Spencer Pigot, a former IndyCar driver who has had a couple of top 5 finishes, including one in the Indianapolis 500 a couple of years ago. So cool to have Spencer and Randy joining our paddock. And Randy Popst, you might be familiar with him if you've seen any YouTube content in the last 15 years about cars in general, but also a longtime SCCA driver and competitor. Has run a bunch of pro racing as well, and just a really good guy.
Again, yeah, I alluded to it, but I think you're slightly underselling the pro credentials of Randy. To become a Porsche factory driver in his, I want to say, 30s or 40s, it's something that's unheard of, right? So it's just such an interesting story, and like I said, limelight shone on these drivers today because of Randy's being here, because Spencer is here. You've got benchmarks to compare yourself against. Yes, James French, former IMSA champion, has been a benchmark to compare yourself to, but now you've got a couple more rungs on the ladder to look to, and that's important as we begin to get the sense for how the track position game is going to shuffle out. Remember, 30 minutes, plenty of time to go and set a lap. There is no rush to go out there and set it first time by.
No rush, but a lot of rushes.
Oh, I've got lots of my rush puns. I'm slowly starting to slip them in with my free will.
All right, so warm-up lap here for the GridLife Rush Series cars. Once again, 150 horsepower means a top out about 125 miles an hour, but in the slipstream could do better than that. These drivers have been really aggressive on the entrance to that inner loop that we talked about earlier, and to the point where, you know, a lot of drivers like Anthony Magnoli had compared it to like a street circuit, like at Monaco, where you get right up against that Armco in the Nouvelle chicane. Similar, but 3 times the speed here on the entrance to that turn.
And that's these are probably the drivers most impacted by that curb change because of their the way the car kind of works and the line that they're now taking as a result. Even if we had left in the kind of pyramids that IMSA had ran for the 6-hour race, these drivers, if they touched that, would have gone straight into the air, right? So it really would have tightened up the initial entry. Now they can, like we said before with the time attack cars, slingshot their way in. What's going to be curious is the 4th and final curb. How much of that can they attack? Because we've heard at turn 1 the danger that it's doing to the cars.
You know, I think they'll use more of the bus stop curb, and here's why. The bus stop curb, you kind of ramp up on, and then you sort of fly over the top of it. The problem with the exit of 1 is that you don't get to ramp up onto it. You sort of kind of straddle it when you come up off the corner, and because you don't have enough speed to get airborne, you drag the underbelly here. I think that initial ramp, you're going to damage the splitter more than you will the floor, and that's sort of the difference, and I think that we will see a couple of drivers attack. One driver has taken the cut through out of the carousel. You can hide there. They'll leave the session green, so if there's some car issues, that's a great place to be, but green flag on the GridLife Rush Series qualifying.
Hey, heads up from that driver. Love to see it. They'll allow the rest of the field to go out there and get the time lapse underway. First driver.
That's Andy Vogel in the 34, and he'll be the first one to test out turn 1 here. Let's see. Yeah, he stays well clear of the rumbles there.
So no surprise, maybe more surprise the gap being left between a couple of the competitors right now. No real draft being fed between these two as they climb up the top of the 100 feet of elevation rise, and now still continue to climb, albeit at a much reduced rate as you blast in towards the bus stop. Now, your braking markers will be off on the left side of the track, but you're really trying to spot to the right when your turn-in will be. A little bit more margin may be given on this first lap. I have no doubt it's going to shrink as we get deeper into the session.
125 mile an hour corner entry speed for Andy Vogel that time, heading into the bus stop. So absolutely sailing here. We plunge into turn 6 now. And so far, nice and clean. And I jinxed it immediately.
Kyle.
Full course yellow. And yeah, this is not what we want to see with 56 cars on the racetrack. Somebody is stopped in an area that race control is not happy about. So we're going to have to stop before we start here.
But again, 30 minutes. So there's enough time still for us to head back out there. It looks as though it's
the 71 car. Now, he's...
Exit of turn 1?
Yes, he's so close to the cutout that I don't think it's going to take very long.
He's moving.
It's Jason Ayler in that this is 71, Paul Click in the Prime 4 racing car. And it is moving a little bit, but he just and it's tricky to get these things in reverse sometimes. Again, motorcycle gearbox and everything, so
one driver elected to pull back down to pit lane, one electing to stay out there, so maybe one thinking that...
Yeah, so they got the full course yellow, not a black flag, which would be typical for a session stoppage. So a full course yellow, you can continue to circulate. And again, up to you with what you want to do. But now Paul's moving. And a little Control-Alt-Delete here, but we should be able to return to green flag racing once the safety car also returns to pit lane, should they have dispatched it already.
He did a decent job of pulling off to the side there, I've got to say. Found one of those cutoffs. Yeah. As much as it is not maybe totally out of the harm's way, it's still a difficult thing sometimes for a driver to do. Keep your awareness about you.
So, going to be a little awkward here while everyone sort of waits for the green to fly again. Again, I hadn't seen the safety car dispatched just yet, but again, if they didn't, then the next time they come around, they can give them the green. So, a couple of drivers are packing up out of turns 10 and 11.
Safety car was out.
Okay, so well, that's good news. So it means we'll get to pack them up and turn them loose again. Well, while we're under this short delay here, Jackson caught up with Ellis Spezia, currently 5th. I'm sure that'll change a lot before the end of the session, but let's hear from Jackson.
Well, I've gotten a mixed bag of emotions from a lot of Rush drivers coming into this weekend, mostly on the sketch side. I asked you if you felt the same way, Ellis. What'd you say?
I mean, the whole reason this track is fun is because it's sketchy. I think coming off of, Road Atlanta, fantastic. My first time there this year. It's my first time here at the Glen. Gingerman Festival was fantastic. The track was missing a little bit of danger. I feel like here with all the guardrails, the S's up through the bus stop, it's a driver's track. And I think it's showing that we're getting some crazy footage. There's some crazy driving already. And I think 56 of these cars is going to be pretty incredible.
You've been testing the limits as well, pushing, coming out of the final corner. But the pace has been there. Top 5s for you throughout the season. What's it going to take to turn that into podiums, into race wins?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those that we're finally getting up there with them and being in that lead pack, which is where we want to be. And Rush Central Texas doing an amazing job on the setup. We've got some crazy stuff that we're brewing of trying some wacky things when it comes to the car. But, my teammate Vilas, he's up there now, so I'm going to have someone to work with in this qualifying session, and hopefully in the races we end up on the same row and can kind of have a teammate. That's what's been missing, divergent, late entry. That's all the front is. It's all them. They work with each other. They do it well. So now we got 2 of our cars up there. I think it's going to be a blast.
Thanks, Alice.
Thank you.
Kyle.
Well, lights are out on the safety car, and that means green flag next time by here, Arjuna. So it looks like the number 8 of Blair Hosey has found his way to the point, and I think I see the 191 of Ryan Leach, James French lined up behind him. He's got a little more gap to the car ahead. And now we'll see these lap times drop as we get the green flag. And here we go, back underway at Watkins Glen for the GRIDLIFE Rush Series qualifying session.
I have no doubt that interruption has instilled a bit more urgency into the drivers. Now that that time has been burned, they want to get out there, set the banker lap as quickly as possible, and then try and wrap things up from there. So let's see how quickly they start to ratchet up the pace.
Climbing the S's here. Got to keep the car happy in the revs right at the top of the tachometer. Again, with the small displacement, just 1,000 cc, you're not really going to have the torque unless you're right at the top of that power band. So 6 speeds to choose from, and you're going to be absolutely VMAX at the top of 6th here going into the inner loop. So probably 4th gear, I'd imagine. But, everyone's got a little bit of room to race, but you see a little side-by-side into the inner loop that time. That's not going to be conducive to going very fast. Whoa, look, Owen Carr running a little bit wide there. And you got to come back on course carefully. 126 mile an hour for some of these cars into the inner loop section.
Yeah, all within about a 1 or 2 mile an hour window of speed. I was just wanting to take a look to see if maybe there was a tire issue on the Pink Rush car, but no, seems as though it's just trying to pick a spot in the field to blend back into, which seemingly difficult with everybody. He's finally been able to get back into line, but instantly with a couple more cars stacked up behind him.
Yeah, the slipstream, we can't underestimate that here this weekend as well. When you have that torque deficit, climbing the S's, being in line behind someone will absolutely gain you a couple of miles an hour. And I think that's where we're seeing, you know, these speeds be a little bit on the upper end of the 120s now, is you've got a car ahead of you that's pushing the air out of the way. Open cockpit cars generally are a lot draggier than closed top ones. So they punch a big hole in the air considering the rest of the size of the car. We're almost 3 wide going into turn 9, so a lot of cooperation is still needed to get clean laps back here.
It's difficult. You've got no spotter, so sometimes making good decisions is more difficult in these situations than we'll give them credit for. Quicker times beginning to trickle in. James French, Blair Hosey, 1 and 2. And the first driver is down into the 205. No one yet to match them.
Yeah, just watching some action behind us at turn 10. Still some side-by-side through a corner that is absolutely flat out in these cars. But French to the top with that 205.228. Ellis Spezia to 5th, then bumped to 6th as Bourne jumps up into 4th place. Tony Barber in his 2nd event ever just jumped to P5. Now he was involved in a pretty interesting accident at Gingerman Raceway where the rear clamshell of Ayrton Grimm's car came off, and it was Barber that slammed into it, and thankfully was okay. But just a reminder that these open cockpit cars, they do have safety features on them, but still got to watch up the road and ensure that you're not getting yourself into trouble. Look at Bryce Mersberger into the 203s now with a 203.2. That's your championship leader.
Yeah, no surprise. He was fastest in practice, 202.8, so already within half a second of that. That's a good sign for him. Ryan Leach slots into 2nd. He's about a second, though, slower than his fastest time from practice. James French with 205.2 just in front of Jaden Batley. Those two battling right around where they would have expected to for the time being. I wonder with all of this side-by-side that we're seeing, if there's going to be a couple of drivers that decide to fall back a little bit further and get out of the hornet's nest, as it were.
Yeah, it's busy back here. And it's also hard to sort of telestrate this. I doubt everyone here knows every driver on course, so understanding what everyone's strategy is without being very explicit about where you place the car is also a challenge. But Ryan Leach, last year's champion, up to a 204.7. Mersberger really setting the pace with that 203.2.
I think the thing to remember as well is it's very easy to make enemies in a session like this. A lot harder to make any friends. Red car on the inside gets slightly pinched there, but it worked out okay.
Yeah, the other consideration is even if you try to make a friend by letting someone by, they're never going to remember which car did it. So absolutely, they'll remember it if you mess them up. Even if you're body in white, they will lock that number in and become the elephant, remembering every last detail of that moment. But close quarters here into this last turn, turn 11, right out to the rumbles at turn 11. So much fun to watch. How much margin do you leave? Everyone's leaving a couple feet there.
Yeah. There's no left-hand, right-hand drive conversation to be had with these cars, but they've got no real excuse. There's only, what, about 1.5 feet between the driver and then the outside of the car. A little bit of a moment
Piggott
there.
Up into the top 5, 4th place for the IndyCar driver, up into a position that I would say is very respectable given this is his first weekend in the car.
He's raced here before, including in IndyCar when they came here, so no stranger to the track. Slow moment there for one of the bright yellow machines, but they navigate through safely. Car in the wall, though, on the exit of the outer loop. Is that Andy Vogel?
I can't quite get the number on it. No, it's a triple-digit number. And it is the 999 car, which I'm not familiar with off the top of my head. But that's John Cargy in the 999, and it looks like it just sort of nosed in there. I didn't see a ton of damage on that car, but carousel's a fast turn.
There's 2 ways that really happens, right? You're loose, get a moment, and don't quite save it, and it snaps off to the left. The other one is you're on the inside, car on the outside doesn't quite see what's going on, pinches a bit too much, and you get spat out into the wall. But regardless, slow now on the exit of the bus stop through the outer loop. We're not going to see many quick times, I would wager, for the next handful of minutes.
No, and just looking at the schedule as well, again, we're sort of bound a little bit. There is still time left in this session. I don't think that they will cancel the rest of this one so long as they can get him pulled out pretty quick. We will have about 10 minutes of session time remaining. So, you know, Bryce Mersberger, no one's even really close. He's a full second clear of Ryan Leach. That is impressive.
And we haven't really talked about the table stakes coming into this event. 3 rounds done in the championship, 3 left to go. Bryce Mersberger has a 26 point advantage over Blair Hosey. There's another 17 points back to James French. Ryan Leach, another 12 points back. So Mersberger in a great position right now.
Yep.
And with the pace that he's shown this weekend, the rest of the field should be worried because qualifying sets the grid for race 1. What sets the grid for race 2? Your finishing results in race 1. Grid for race 3 is set based on your fastest lap in race 2. And then race 4 is gridded up by results in race 3. And right now, Mersberger trending in the right direction to start up front for all of those.
I'd say. Also should mention Keegan Bosch in the top 10. I caught up with him earlier today. He was really excited. He's got a new livery on the car, which helps pick him out in the crowd. But he just felt very comfortable. Had a lot of sim laps here and felt very at home with this setup and said he was just excited to be, you know, going real fast this weekend. Feels very confident in his car. And I think I saw that Randy Popst is P21 right now, which is, again, a really impressive run for someone who just got a couple of laps in it leading up to this event.
Yeah, no, it's a competitive field as well once you get to the front. There's no question about that. So Spencer Pigot impressing us to be up there in the top 5. Quick check of the tire pressures there. And a brief conversation as the crew just quickly checks out their AJ Campo's car.
Yeah, looking up underneath, again, with the abuse that these cars are likely to take on the curbing around here, just definitely a nut and bolt after every session sort of thing. Make sure everything's tight. Very easy to knock out in alignment as well. And again, some of the larger cars, you know, that we'll see in Time Attack and the wheel-to-wheel stuff, they're really, you know, built for abuse. But these cars are way stronger than they look. You know, they might be small in size, but they definitely stand up to the abuse of the racetrack. Now, it's just how much, because even the best built, you know, cars that you'll see in IMSA are still struggle with, you know, hitting curbs too hard sometimes. So you have to respect the course. I think I just saw the car that was in the tires driving back around, if I'm not mistaken. It looked like I had blue on the back of it.
Well, it's definitely a car. So the fact that it's...
maybe not.
Yeah, there's a couple more. So, oh.
No, that's not the one because it had numbers on the back.
But we are slowly starting to send the cars.
We'll take it. Green flag. Who's got anything for Mersberger? A full second deficit. That's crazy to me. I mean, I know that we're still working up to pace here and we haven't had a lot of laps, but I'm impressed that Mersberger has been able to pull that big of a gap around here.
The fact that he's so close to the time in practice tells you how confident he is feeling this weekend. Ryan Leach, 1.1 seconds slower right now. It's a lot of time to make up. And what time is this session slated to end?
At the bottom of the hour here, so another 10 minutes.
They've got maybe 4 laps, maybe 5 if you're at the very front of the queue. But there's not many opportunities left now.
I wonder what they would have fueled the car for. Do you think that we all would have fueled up to go the distance, or would you have fueled for just a lap or 2?
Distance. I think in a session like this, as unpredictable as it can be, I would prefer just to have the fuel out. You know there's going to be cautions, no doubt about it, but if there's not...
Well, I guess that's my question is, do you feel the car anticipating some yellows? Are we to that level? I mean, we had drivers, you know, that were in the nitty-gritty last year trying to find every bit of technical advantage they could. You know, it wouldn't be surprising to find that we're under fueling by a lap or 2 anticipating
at least one caution, I agree. Yeah. But then you get into that game of how close to the sun do you want to fly?
Right.
And that's a game of chicken that I always find myself losing or winning. I'm the chicken, but I don't run out of fuel. So have I lost or have I won? I'm never usually on pole position though, so that's not a concern for me.
Oh man, there's the 511. I think that's Heath Pomerantz making his way around. I think he was down towards the bottom of the order, so he's looking for a nice strong lap to round things out there. There's Blair Hosey, runner-up in the championship, buried in 6th at the moment. I think if you're in the top 10 here, given that we're going to likely see some draft battles, I don't think it's a panic moment just yet, but it just goes to show you how strong the field is this weekend.
I think the panic is more that you see what Merzberger is doing and you don't have a response to it, right?
Yeah, Ayrton Grimm, by the way, we should point him out in the 121 car. 17 years old, recently turned 17. There is a New York State law that goes back 100 some odd years about child labor in New York State. Drivers under the age of 18 typically cannot compete here because of that state law. However, New York State and Watkins Glen will honor emancipations from other states. So Ayrton, along with a couple other drivers in this paddock, have gone ahead and gotten emancipated from their parents such that their parents are not legally responsible for them anymore, and they can choose on their own to go racing and are not being exploited for child labor, such says the law. So that just goes to show you how dedicated these teams and drivers are.
It's not that uncommon, and you know, I've heard many a story of a 13 or a 14-year-old being emancipated and flying off to Europe to go and try and compete on that ladder up through that pathway. So it's something that a lot of people who are committed to this career early explore, but we should not make it sound like the parents don't support. The parents are still here. Yeah, the parents are still here.
It was their idea. Hence, I guess, the law in the first place. But Bryce Merzberger, by the way, carrying the red number board on the nose. We talked about this at Midwest Festival, but that is an homage to Supercross racing, where the championship leader carries the red board. And he's carried it since the beginning of the season. He has yet to give it to anybody else.
Yet to relinquish it, but he's got the target on his back, no question at this point, right? 3 rounds left to go, and from what I understand, we'll see a bit of an influx of competition at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca with some of the Californian competitors. Maybe not all of the drivers make it out for that race, potentially, but there is some improvement, still a full second short of Merzberger. Merzberger could be in a position to effectively make Laguna Seca a championship parade for himself if the next 2 rounds go great.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, if this round goes well and he does okay at Lime Rock, he'll have built a decent enough advantage. You know, the other consideration is that in the past, we've required the last round of the championship to be run. I don't believe it's different for Rush, but it will not be a required round, as far as my understanding, for Laguna Seca. That goes for all of our championships, so you don't make our drivers from Ohio drive across the country just to compete in one race. But definitely you can leave some margin for yourself and not have to sweat.
So it's, I think, going to be an important factor. Still wait to see, though, if anyone else breaks into the 203s. French the closest, but he's searching for 0.3 of a second. And then there's a solid 7 drivers in about a half a second buffer down to 8th position. Ayrton Grimm maybe just outside of that. But a very, very competitive field right now, and Blair Hosey has done a decent job of slotting himself back up into 4th as side by side through the final corner.
Oh man, here we go, out of turn 11 and coming back around to the stripe to kick off another lap. Merzberger still well clear of the field here. Ooh, lots of curb usage there.
That did not look comfortable. That looked like a very rough ride. Hopefully he hasn't done any damage to the underside, as we've heard from drivers already. But seemingly still continuing at speed over the top of the S's. And then the continued climb up into the inner loop where these drivers have been so committed. Look at that train that extends 6 cars deep.
Well, it definitely feels like there's a little more momentum around the racetrack. At the moment, really wide out of 5 was one of those cars. A lot of glare on the monitor. Can't quite make out who that was.
Bright purple is what I spotted.
Wow, that was really close.
Nervous. There's runoff to be had there. We're not monitoring track limits. It's not where you want to be if you want to go fast. There's checkered flag out. French improves, Hosey improves, 2nd and 3rd respectively, but neither into the 203s.
That's still a big margin, and I'd be a little nervous if I was any of those drivers in trail that need. Wow, there's Volkel to a 203.8. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet, I suppose.
9th in points for Andy Volkel, so he's quite a ways back in the championship. But discussion, but my goodness, what a lap time there.
Yeah, new chassis for him this year, and just hadn't quite had the pace, but he's turning it around here. Ayrton Grimm up into the top 10. Spencer Pigot still hanging on to 7th. Ellis Spezia and Tony Barber. And Barber just jumped to 9th. So a lot of revolving door on the timing and scoring at the moment.
Spencer Pigot improved another 4/10 or so from the lap that initially got him up into the top 5. 7th for him. It's a pretty good run in his first competitive outing.
Ryan Leach.
Leach late in the day. Might not be done though. There's still a couple of cars left to see the checkered, Kyle.
Yeah, a few more cars making their way around the circuit at the moment. And Bryce Mersberger, one of them, no improvement that time, not that he needed it. Bourne up to a 204.1. I think that was most of the major top 10 players that we've seen here.
I think Hosey and French may have just been a couple of seconds shy of getting an additional lap over the rest of the field. But regardless, grid for race 1 now set. The drivers start to turn their mind to racing tomorrow.
All right, let's have a look at the results here for the GridLife Rush Series qualifying session. Before we sign things off here, it looks like that got stuck. So we might not be able to show you the results beyond this session. But again, Bryce Mersberger, a full second clear of the field. That was an unbelievable lap time that he ran down to the 203s.
No one with an answer for the speed for Mersberger this weekend, and the championship leader looking to continue the streak of keeping the red number and the target on the side of his car.
So field making their way back around. There we are. So Bryce Mersberger at that 203.293, then Andy Vogel and Ryan Leach, just a couple of tenths back for each. So definitely ate into that advantage and making everyone maybe feel a little better about their deficit to the championship leader. Grant Bourne, Blair Hosey, French, Pigot, Barber, Spezia, and Grimm rounding out your top 10.
Competitive field. The margins through the top 20 still pretty close.
Yeah, Keegan Bosch, Anthony Maganoli, Nick Billingsley, Heath Pomerantz, Jalen Batley not really getting the effort I think he was hoping for. DeJacomo, Hardesty, Nolan Spence, and Weisberg, the rest of your top 20. And then looking down the list here, Jason Ayler, Randy Pope's 27th, fell a little bit towards the end. Jared Anderson, Spencer Morgan wrapping up the top 30. And as we continue looking down, Jeremy Boysen in the 34 car, new livery on board his car this week. David Pereira, Larry Brady, the rest of your top 40. And then the last two pages, Robert Desjardins, there's Jeff Hardesty, Lee Kellert's back here. John Cargy, we saw, he was able to get off the racetrack, AJ Campo and Dalton Snedden in 50th place. And finally, the last page there, Kelsey Anderson, JD Kroll, and Paul Click, who we saw have that issue very early on. But that was a heck of a session.
Couple of interruptions, but our driver's getting into the rhythm. Mersberger, imperious form right now, though, and he'll be the most happy with how things have gone today.
All right, we're going to step away for a brief moment. It's GridLife GT qualifying right after this.
We're Tire Rack. We test tires to provide you with truth, transparency, and unbiased recommendations. We stock over 1 million tires to ensure we have what you need. We're Tire Rack. We work hard to ship your tires fast and free. We offer convenient installation options to keep you moving forward. We do all this for one reason. Tires matter. TireRack.com, official tire retailer of GridLife.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen International for GRIDLIFE GT qualifying. Cars are on course now, about to set the grid for their first race of 4 this weekend in our 8.9 pounds per horsepower power to weight championship. Kyle Heyer joined by Arjuna Kankapati and Jackson Lambros in the pit lane. The cars are on course, but we have a very important interview we got to get down to hear from Jackson about. A couple of weeks ago, we were at GRIDLIFE Midwest Festival and had a pretty unfortunate series of events that led to Chris DeLucia's car going up in flames. Jackson Lambros caught up with Chris. Jackson, what you got?
We were not expecting him to be here. Chris DeLucia back in the 40 BMW, and going off of some of the conversations I had with the KDM guys yesterday, I don't think you were expecting to be here either.
No, I mean, I was, we were trying like hell. It's been a crazy month. I mean, honestly, in the last week, a couple hours of sleep every night. We've been just trashing in the garage. Got it done about 4:30 in the morning, you know, Wednesday night, and then we just packed up and headed out here. Just very excited to be out here. Very, very happy to get it back together.
It's been a week-long effort almost, not only with your car, but with Wesley's Hyundai. What does that say about the fight of this team?
I mean, honestly, this team, that's why we just never stop. It's team never give up. That's what we always say, and honestly, that's what we're showing right now.
We're glad that you're back. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Look at the height.
Wow, what a story, Arjuna. That car looking mighty crispy, and just an unbelievable story. I told Chris that you can't do that all the time, buddy. You got to take a break, because for those that were watching last year, he rebuilt this car after a crash at Lime Rock Park in testing for our Circuit Legends event. So he's bolted a new rear end onto this car, and now he's rebuilt the front end of this car, and it's like the ship of Theseus here, replacing every part. Is it still the original? I don't know, but there he is on track now for GRIDLIFE GT qualifying.
And had to clamber out of the car.
Yes.
While it was still on fire and rolling at 15-odd miles an hour in the grass. Scary. And it's a reminder to all of us that safety equipment is not to be trifled with, and it is there for a reason. Alan Patton pulling double duty this weekend. He's not just racing, I should say competing in our time attack, but also racing here in effectively a GT4 spec Toyota Supra.
Yes.
The type of car he's been racing a lot outside of GRIDLIFE paddocks.
Yeah, and Alan is running a different car than he has run in GRIDLIFE GT in the past. It is an Evo 2 Supra this time.
Okay.
The previous car that he ran, the red and white one, was just a Supra Evo. So this car's a little different, and it's been really fast so far. He has been the car to beat. Has been climbing north of 150 miles an hour on our radar speed trap on the back straightaway. There he is, going by it right now, I think. And there's Chris DeLucia climbing the S's in his LS swap BMW E36 3 Series.
Is it still LS swapped? Is that the same engine?
I don't know if it's the same block, but it is a lot of new stuff has been put on it regardless after he melted it all off. But again, fastest in practice, I think, was actually Christian Aranja. So I would expect to see Christian climb up on there. I don't see him on the board right now. Here's Patton in that number 606 Toyota GT4 Supra, the Evo 2, like I mentioned. And he's just set a 159.598. That feels pretty quick to me. The cars in GT4 spec are capable of about a 154, 55-ish.
But that's on the slick tire.
On the slick tire, and these cars have to run slightly detuned in GRIDLIFE GT. So I think, making around 320 to 340 horsepower.
Okay.
So a little less than their GT4 spec trim, but it's not slowing them down all that much.
No, Christian Aranja has just put in a time, by the way, so there he is. About a second, though, off of Alan Patton. What makes this so interesting, and I guess it's logical that you take power away from the GT4 cars, because last time at Midwest Fest, what do we get? Closest ever finish in GRIDLIFE history.
Yes.
1,000th of a second.
Yeah.
And it was a TCR car that took the win. So GT4 and TCR racing in the same class just goes to show how the balance of performance adjustments work out.
Yeah, we won't have the TCR car here today. That was James Houghton, who's actually here this weekend competing in his Eibach GLTC Acura TSX, a car that has a whole bunch of winter stickers on it. He was actually sort of teasing a couple of drivers. He posted some photos back from 2023 with Eric Gatill in the background while he was leading the race. So, and then he posted a video showing all the winter stickers going up the A-pillar. So he's ready to party in Eibach GLTC. Up next, Patton passed the speed board 150 miles an hour for the number 606 GT4 Supra.
The gap still relatively large, though. So I'm just looking at practice times. Christian Aranja's fastest lap was a 2-minute 5:06. So within a tenth of a second of that. Alan Patton did a 2:02 in practice. So he's found another 3 seconds or so. And this is a driver that's only really been competitively driving for about 3 years. What was the quote? His wife aggressively encouraged him to go out and do an HPDE.
Do something.
Do something.
And he just is not doing anything halfway, is he? He's doing everything double, is what it sounds like. But yeah, I mean, already immediately in year one, won the Street Mod Championship and broke basically every track record we had on offer. Easily won that championship. Same year, started running in the SRO GT4 Championship, continues to do that, and then also has run in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge Series and recently tested in an Aston Martin GT3 Evo. So he's been around the block as far as the pro racing stature comes as well, and has found success there. As well as Matan Rosenberg stepping into professional racing this year, has run a couple of SRO TC America events in Elantra N TC cars. He's got a few more of those on the calendar as well, and reigning Eibach GLTC champion twice over.
He's got a pretty good lead, does Rosenberg, in the GLGT championship standings as well. I never quite trust my own math, but Google tells me it's 35 points that he enjoys over Christian Aranja, who did find a bit more time. He's only 2/10 off of Alan Patton, but Patton squeezed a bit more out of the Supra to jump to a 59.515. So there's speed on this track, and AJ Hartman, oh, love that. The Ford Mustang with all the custom aero that he builds on it, it's third on the board right now.
Yeah, AJ's car is really cool, and he expects to be much quicker this event. He found some things that were problematic for him. He was doing
new aero
GLT, well, actually it was motor and power related with, I think, the turbocharger. He was only doing about 116 miles an hour into turn 11 at Gingerman, which is GLTC pace. So he's found some things, and again, this is a downforce track. You're going so fast around here that AJ Hartman's car is right back where I'd expect it to be, in third place at the moment.
Nice, decent field as well for GLGT. Only problem is when you look at it in comparison to the field that we've got coming up next, it allows the drivers a lot more time and space compared to what we saw in Rush, what we're going to see in GLTC. I don't think they're necessarily complaining too much about the space they are afforded on track, because they aren't looking for draft like the Rush drivers were. They've got enough power to negate any advantage really that you would have from the hole in the air, the detriment that you then have from the dirty air coming through some of the longer radius corners. So they've all separated themselves out around the just under 4 miles of Watkins Glen, and well, not ideal when someone blends out directly in front of you, and I think Aranja's going to have to lift off slightly here.
Yeah, he's still got a little bit of space, but Alex Peitz will have to keep an eye on that rear view mirror. Looks like Christian might have bailed out of it, and so has Alan Patton. Looks like he's going to return to the pit lane as the provisional. Actually, Christian Aranja had just gone quicker, a 1:59.3. Did you pick that up? I missed that. So move Christian back to the top of the board.
Maybe that's another reason why he backed off. He had already set the heater, and clearly these drivers looking to split this session up into maybe 3 sort of chunks, and maybe we'll only see the drivers head back out in a little bit. You and I just saw the same thing, smoke out of the left front for Rosenberg.
He's got a lot of tire trying to fit under that fender, and I've ridden in this car back when it was in GLTC trim around Laguna Seca, and it did the same thing at turn 6 there. So under heavy load, it looks like he just doesn't quite have the fender clearance to keep that from rubbing, but not a huge concern. I've seen that car do it plenty of times, but it is something at this racetrack, you want to keep those Toyo Proxazar tires healthy with the loads that you see around here.
Yeah, you don't want to be cutting into those tires by any means. Air temperature, by the way, does feel like it's just continued to stay really, really warm right now. The sun is beginning to set, but by no means has the track temperature come down. So since these drivers were last on track, it's probably a little bit more slippery, a bit less grippy, as much as the surface always has plenty of grip to offer. But they've adjusted quite nicely to that, and maybe that contributes to the shorter runs we're seeing from them as well.
Matan Rosenberg heading to turn 8, the heel of the boot. Championship winning car from last year, off to a great start. A little bit, whoops, that's going to be wide. That might be a track limits call there.
I think he was okay.
But yeah, again, they'll be watching. They got eagle eyes over there.
And hopefully less glare than we have as well. So sometimes a bit difficult for us to kind of pick up what's going on. But Rosenberg looking very settled, I think, right now. Outside of the smoke that we've seen, for the most part, really extracting plenty. And I think this might be the final lap before he heads back down to pit lane like some of our competitors, already with a 2:01.383. Is there any improvement?
He'll want more than that. I just don't know if it's got it in it right now. It doesn't. Again, his straightaway speed, I clocked him at 144 last time around. We've seen Patton at 150. So, you know, last year, Baton was consistently the quickest car on a straight line. This year, those GT4 and TCR cars have been pretty hard to beat.
Well, go back to Dussault in our time attacks, right? He went 189 on lap 1 in terms of speed trap, but it was the second lap that was actually the quicker lap time. He was only 177 at the speed trap on that lap. So top speed means something.
Yep, not everything.
But if you can't carry it through the corners, it can be difficult. So and this is a real track where, again, I go back to the intimidation factor is probably at its highest this year. Road Atlanta's probably pretty close as well. But because you have higher speeds here in some of our cars, I would wager that this is probably a bit more of a worrying track.
Yeah, it's just the grip level's so high, learning to trust it, right? And
when things go wrong, it just goes wrong.
It just goes wrong so fast, right? The speeds you're carrying, everyone will tell you that this is one of the fastest road courses in the country. If you go north of the border, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and Mosport, that's another one that sort of falls in this category. It's just a really fast place, and even for me, I did a gazillion sim racing laps here. The first time you head up the S's and you see those walls close in, a sim can't convey that feeling of constraint. And you feel a little claustrophobic heading up the hill.
It's funny you mentioned CTMP. Ricky Taylor told me when we were there 2 weeks ago that Watkins Glen is the physically demanding track for him. But because he's clearly relatively comfortable there, has done enough races, hasn't done much at CTMP in comparison, it took him 20 or 30 laps. Just think about that. A professional racing driver saying it took him 20 or 30 laps to feel comfortable. It will feel like that for these drivers here. And that's why the practice sessions were so important. And it's the same tomorrow for some of the drivers who have had limited track running when we get into the heat of our time attack sessions.
It's Jordan Wisely in the KDM Tuners, number 7 Hyundai Veloster N. Again, dealing with some trials and tribulations and broken motors this year. And it's not been an easy year for them, fighting this uphill battle to get this car handling just right, but
they've got the rear wing back on at least.
Yeah, hey, we'll start there. Again, this is not a racetrack that I would be removing aero. In GLGT, the rules specify that you can run up to the limit of the aero without taking any extra weight. That is in contrast to Eibach GLTC, where any added aerodynamics cost you weight. Not here. You gain a negative modifier for removing it or not having it at all. But at these speeds, I would like to have the rear end of the car settled very nicely.
100%, especially in a front-wheel drive car where you need the rear to be a little bit light and dancey so that you can get the turn of the car done before you apply the power and start to get a bit of that understeer that sometimes is a bit more prevalent in the front-wheel drive machinery. No one really challenging around or Patton up front just yet, but I wonder if we're just waiting for the later parts of this session. About halfway through now, I think 16 minutes complete, 14 to go.
I was just checking. I mean, when the track runs green, the time kind of, I mean, they've got a lot of space and time, and it's really a little slog to run to the end of this thing. I just wonder how many drivers are holding out to the end of it, maybe waiting for the track temp to drop. I don't know that they're going to have it drop a lot, but the sun is getting a little lower.
You know how you asked about fuel in the rush? Probably a bit more of a question for these drivers.
Yeah.
And I would wager that you definitely are not filling these cars up with fuel to go out for a qualifying session. So maybe part of the reset in pit lane is let's throw the fuel back in, or energy, as we now have to call it in certain forms of racing.
Yes. I don't hate that, by the way, just an FYI. I'm on Team Energy.
I like it in GTP.
Yes.
I'm not such a fan in GTD.
I'm with you there. Ryan Power, brand new build this weekend. He's run with us in Eibach GLTC in a couple different cars, an NDMX5 and a GR86. Spent some time in the GR86 Cup Series this year as well, but has built this Supra for GRIDLIFE GT competition. When I saw this pop up on the entry list, I reached out to him because I didn't see a picture of it in our GRIDLIFE Club
that's
portal.
track limit.
That's a track limit, yep. It is not a GT4 car. This is a road-going B58 powered Supra that has been extensively modified. So what's interesting to me is two GR Supras, one from racing lineage, one from the street, competing against each other in the same category. You don't get that anywhere else.
No, it's a unique proposition. As Chris DeLucia, rebuilt BMW, 201.968, jumps up into 5th. I guess for him, the difference between the Toyota GR Cup car and this must be just more power, more fun, compared to the GR Cup car, which is a lot more momentum-based. Not saying it's not fun, but it's a different style of racing and would be a lot slower around a place like Watkins Glen. Now, this lap is also not going to count, I would say, because all 4 wheels went off the curb at turn 1 too.
Yeah, they'll be looking at that. Looks like the time hasn't been deleted yet, but we'll keep our eyes on it. So it was his quickest, and he jumped to 6th. I don't know that the off track at 8 helped him any. He was pretty wide there, so maybe at 1, unwinding the wheel a little less helps. But I'm impressed, by the way, DeLucia, for all that effort and staying up till 2 a.m. the night before coming here. P5 in your first session back is not a bad place to start.
No. I'm glad he's back out here, because I'm sure for him it would have been a real shame to put in lots of work and for the car not to have been ready. A lot of effort on the team side as well, so kudos to them. And you talk about the mental side, or the physical side, I should say, lack of sleep.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, I think, right now. The adrenaline must have been pumping through him for the last week or so with the thrash to get the car ready. He'll sleep after this weekend is done and not wake up for about 24 hours.
Yeah, I told him earlier, I said, buddy, you can't do this again. Like, it's okay, take a break, right? But sometimes you just can't save these guys from themselves. They just want to race and they want to be a part of it, and they're not going to let anything hold them back. And I think there was a lot of learnings from the incident at GRIDLIFE Midwest, and what I love is that not only did he share his experience, he also had a lot of humility and said, here's some things I did wrong, and here's how we're going to fix this and make this safer. And he told everyone what he did wrong so that other people won't make the same mistakes. And they were minor, but in a situation like he had where a fuel line had come off in the engine bay, that's a big deal. And so, got away with it, unharmed. But again, that's a lot of effort to get back on course.
Looks like a reset for him down on pit lane now with about 10 minutes left to go.
This is Eric Pilipczyk in the 247 BMW. We've seen him on occasion. I think he ran one GRIDLIFE GT event with us back at Autobahn Country Club last year. Not a car that we see a lot, and sort of a wild card this weekend. I'm not really sure what we're going to get out of it or what level of experience he has at this particular circuit, but getting after it right now, using a lot of rumbles. He's definitely confident, I'll say that.
Yeah, that looks okay as well. Hear the tires squeal out through the outer loop, which is always going to be the limiting factor for that car. He's not so much downforce limited, but grip limited by the 4 contact points underneath him. Drop down in towards the boot. Falls away from you, does this corner. Always feel like you're being pushed out into the curb, but he does a decent job of avoiding running onto the white line. Keep yourself nice and tight to the toe in some of these lower powered cars. Get on the power nice and early, attack the exit. In some of the higher power cars, you might try and V out a little bit more and cut back, but seemingly okay in this car to just roll up through the top and now drop down to a corner which can catch you out on occasion. Falls away from you slightly as you get down to the apex of the corner. That's why you see the drivers run out wide, and then terrible, tricky turn 9. Always feels like you're not quite turned in correctly. Several bites at it sometimes, and then you'll eventually get the car turned in. Did a decent job to straighten the car up and roll the momentum into what should be close to flat through turn 10, but seemingly bails from the lap and will head back to pit lane. Just wondering if Aranja and Padden think that there's no more time to be gained out on track.
If there is, they only have another lap or 2 before I'd expect to see a checker on this session.
They haven't gone back out since they entered pit lane.
Is Gary Wimble on course now? Yes, it is, the number 11 here. And his best time so far, a 2:02.391. Gary's been with us for a long time, running in Eibach GLTC and GRIDLIFE GT. Ran an NC Miata back in the day and has switched over to the Corvette C5 platform. Always a great chat. And you know what I love about Gary is he's kind of quiet, but he shares his perspective all the time, in a way that is super constructive. And I've learned a lot listening to him about his perspective on grid life in the series and what's being done right versus what could use some improvement. And I think we've made some changes in lieu of some Gary Wimble feedback. And and he's doing a great job.
It always helps when you can be constructive in your conversations rather than sometimes what we see on social media nowadays. So just a reminder to anyone listening, if you've got feedback for anyone, it always helps when you approach it with a positive attitude. Tend to find that people are more receptive in that case. And I guess when you're such a long-time competitor, you've seen the growth of grid life, right, from the much smaller events that I've heard about, and then all the way up to the largest ever Grid Life Festival, which we just had at Midwest Fest. And crazy to see the number of people that were out there already on Friday here. We've been saying how much busier it is than we've expected as well. So great to see that Gary's still around the paddock and looking to try and improve it all the time as well.
Yeah, and top 10 at the moment for Wimble, P7, right ahead of his buddy Eric Meadows, paddocking together. And then Eric Jensen switching numbers. Now the number 8 was 184 for the longest of times. Trying something new. He said he had so much bad luck that he just wanted to start anew. He's got new aero on the car. He's got a flat floor now, which is something you're allowed to do here in GRIDLIFE GT as well. And that is an LS swap FRS that we have yet to have seen on air today. He's eluded us so far. We get another look at the Veloster N.
Might be one of the few cars still left on track right now.
Yeah, it's quiet out there. Track's still green, by the way, but again, the expectation is not that you run every lap, but
you set the fastest lap in the 30 minutes that you can.
Right, and more important for Rush and GLTC to have these long sessions. For GRIDLIFE GT, though, everyone got what they wanted to get done.
And no yellow flags. Knock on the table in front of me.
Yeah, so I think with that, maybe we'll take a look at our results here in a minute. I don't know if anyone's going to bother going back out at this rate. We haven't seen the leaders in some time, so I think we'll gear up to wrap this one up.
Well, we always like sessions that go like this. Don't have to worry about the bowling.
No. Well, let's not go bowling. Sorry, Watkins Glen. But all right, let's have a look here at our session results before we head to break real quick. At the top of the board, it is Christian Aranja of the 159.377. Alan Patton at a 159.515, just a 10.5 off over the 3.5-mile run. Then A.J. Hartman in third, Matan Rosenberg and Chris DeLucia in that triumphant return to competition a month after his big fireball at GRIDLIFE Midwest. Then Ryan Power, Wimble, Meadows, and Jensen, and Eric Pilipchik, your top 10. We'll look down the rest of the order. Hans Horpedal, Jordan Wisely, Anthony Scafuto, Jack Haddix, and Alex Peitz, your 15 qualifiers. A couple cars missing from this group. We were expecting to see Jeff Ricca as well as Sean Bassett and a few others, but they did not get a chance to go out on the road for this run. So I think we'll sign off for a brief moment, and we'll be back with Eibach GRIDLIFE Touring Cup qualifying right after this. Welcome back to Watkins Glen International for GridLife Summer Apex, round 4 of 6 in the 2026 season. Kyle Heyer joined by Arjuna Kankapati and Jackson Lambros helping us out in the pit lane again this weekend. There's a look at the victory lane where all the drivers this weekend hope to be at the conclusion of this event. You see those garages there in the background, Arjuna? You know what the angle that they're sitting at? It's peculiar that they're sideways like that. And I think the reason why is because when this racetrack was reconfigured a number of years ago, the racetrack used to run right through there. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's take a look at our virtual track map once again here in just a moment. And we'll give you a kind of a look at what this track used to look like. This is the street course downtown, 1948 to 1952. Where racing originally began in the streets of Watkins Glen, was used for 4 years until a spectator was killed, and then they decided no more of this. They moved to a temporary circuit for 3 years in the town of Dix, just up the road to the south. And then this is the track I'm talking about. In 1956, it was built. There's that reconfiguration. The pavement used to run under where they built the garages, so they figured, hey, this is a great spot to build them. That's the circuit we have today, 11 turns, 3.5 miles. And what a fun roller coaster ride it is around here. From turn 1 in the 90 all the way up to the back straightaway, the tallest point on the racetrack, just at the inner loop. And then from there down to turn 7 at the toe of the boot, you go from the highest section of the track to the lowest section, all downhill.
And you climb back up again all the way up to turn 10. It's a real ride, and you think about all the series that have raced here over the years. Formula One has its own chapter, but of course some more recent years it's been NASCAR and endurance racing that have very much written the next chapter of racing legends that have carved their way around Watkins Glen, and it's just such a unique place to come. And I think everyone's got to make this pilgrimage at least once up to Watkins Glen. It is one of those tracks that is just has to be seen to be believed.
It's a great place. It's where I started my racing career, so to speak, where I got interested in motorsports. And now Eibach GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, our original wheel-to-wheel championship, started in 2019. They are rolling onto the racetrack. 47 cars here. And Arjuna, would you believe this is a smaller field than we had the last time? We had 55 back in 2023. And unfortunately that year we lost 2 cars to some contact, and yesterday we did as well. John Gatos and Salil Shukla had a Cummings together. No one's fault really, just one car got into the tires and basically immediately stopped right into the path of the other one. Glad they're all right, but definitely extensive repairs needed there. Lena Chin took a spill yesterday in testing, but ASM again has repaired her car to working condition, and she's back on the racetrack.
Not just ASM, Jackson and I wandered down over to the ASM part of the paddock. Lena was the one who was getting to work on, I guess it was reassembling the struts that kind of mount the headlight on the right front of her car. So a real team effort. Andy Smedgaard was quick in practice, but ultimately, I don't know if he's the one that we're necessarily too focused on with the way the championship has been going here. It's Eric Magnussen and Eric Cottil, who are both going to show very different types of cars. One which has got a big 6.3 liters, a V8 behind, underneath the hood of the BMW M3, and then on Eric Cottil's side, you've got the much lighter, much smaller Honda Civic, but a car that's still faster at the top of the speed. Now, it takes a while to get there. The BMW is going to have such great acceleration off the corners.
It will, and it's going to be really good up the hill, too. That's where I think Cottil's car is going to struggle a bit.
Hey, 88.
And 1.21 gigawatts. There we go. I'm not complaining. As the cars roll around here, take a look at the season points so far. Eric Cottil leads 236 to 230 over Eric Magnussen. It was going to switch, actually, in race 4 at GRIDLIFE Midwest Festival. Magnussen had some stumbling engine woes and wasn't exactly sure what was going on. He swapped to a Link ECU and everything was fine. So he's back in contention, but he did critically finish back in 30th in race 4, and that took away the advantage he had on Cottil over the weekend, which Cottil admitted was not his best driving, again, Eric that weekend finished 3rd, 2nd, 9th, and 2nd. So, you know, if that's Cottil's sloppy weekend,
yes,
everyone else should best be worried.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Cottil's worst finish this season was the first race. So after that, he's really not let the foot off the throttle by any means. 47 cars down to 45. I would assume that track position is going to mean something in this qualifying session. Having clean air, keeping clean air. And already look at Eric Magnussen giving a big toe to, is that an orange BMW behind him?
Yes, brand new competitor this weekend, George Manabdi in this number 6 car, I think he's got on the side. Brand new competitor. I don't know much about him, and he was a little mysterious at registration the other day, so we'll see how he goes, but he's been quick so far from what I've seen in practice. Beginning our first flying laps of the weekend in qualifying as Magnussen with that Dale Earnhardt inspired number 3 into turn 1.
Now let's see out of turn 1. That's okay track limits wise, I'm pretty sure, but power off this corner. Does the BMW behind have anything to close on Magnussen? No, I think he might have also realized that give a bit more space heading into these qualifying runs with the dirty air that you're dealing with as well. Let's see the speed traps.
Yeah.
What are you expecting here?
I'm expecting, mid 120s is what I'd expect. 130, 128 for the number 3. So I was pretty bang on there. I think the trap is set to go off at 130 here. So anybody north of that, we'll see them pop up. That might be a little high. We'll adjust the defaults for tomorrow. But off is Mason Bursack. He gathers it up. What a big moment for that driver of the 424 M3. That was sketchy, to say the best.
I didn't quite catch if he launched off the curb and got pushed out wide, but as soon as he two-footed the car off into the grass, he did a great job of holding on to it and avoiding sliding into the wall. I have no doubt he is going to go slow a bit now and let a couple of cars slip through. One of the ASM machines makes its way past. He's probably breathing, relaxing, waiting for the heart rate to come back down.
Yeah, deep breath after that one. It looked like he just slipped out wide, and as soon as you get the grass, you're trying to arc into turn 5, but because there's so much banking there, I don't really feel like you need to go all the way track left there, and I'm not sure if he put himself there intentionally or not, but he won't do it again.
And these cars aren't like a GTP car where I'd say, you're carrying enough speed to make it worth it maybe to carry the extra distance on occasion. I assume they want to be a lot tighter off the exit of the bus stop on the entry in towards the inner loop. So yeah, that was not ideal. Matt Waldbaum, the one that slipped through in the blue and yellow with gray base for the Honda S2000.
Andy Smedegaard in the 212-86 was just flashing the headlights at Eric Catil. So I don't know that was I need by. I think that was a friendly hello. Look at Waldbaum right to the edge of the curbing. He won race 3 here in 2023. So one of his more recent victories, if I recall. And right now slots in right behind Eric Magnussen as Catil goes 3rd. Smedegaard goes quicker than that though, 207 flat. Behind Magnussen's 206.8, so everyone's chasing that number 3.
We are faster though than what we saw in practice by quite a ways. Smedegaard fastest with a 207.3, so already shaved half a second off of that has Eric Magnussen. Matthew Ibrahim has been fast this weekend as well. He's now 3rd, 2nd quickest though in practice, so he may want a little bit more. And look at Eric Catil, championship leader, down in 6th position. And more importantly, it's not necessarily the position, it's the time. Almost 2 seconds off of what Eric Magnussen was able to put together.
There's Waldbaum navigating the outer loop, keeping a look there. I was wondering where James Houghton was, P3 in his first lap at his return in the TSX. But we mentioned Lena Chin having some woes earlier in the weekend. Let's check in with Jackson Lambros for more on Lena. And Jackson's now with Lena. We'll head down now.
Yeah, guys, quick issue there for Lena Chin. I don't think she even got a green flag lap in, but the way I heard it on the pit lane, it almost sounded like there was a 2-step because it went to about 5,000, fluttered off a limiter, and then went all the way off, and trouble for her more now, but because I believe she's off track. It was certainly linked to an issue, though, something that the ASM guys have dealt with previously. You rewind the clock back to Road Atlanta, and you realize the issue she already had earlier this week. You can see her right headlight got punched out after contact in turn 9. Not the start to the weekend that Lena Chin has wanted, guys.
No, thanks, Jackson. Yeah, that was Matt Waldbaum that had issues earlier in the year. Very similar reports, so I wonder if Lena's dealing with something similar. Saw Jay Rebus off at the inner loop with the Kia Forte. So something had gone amiss there. And then Also, Matt Beck, I thought he was scheduled to run in GRIDLIFE GT this weekend. Looks like he's flipped over to Eibach GLTC trim in that 240. So there he is in the 67.
And you mentioned James Houghton in the 2004 Acura TSX. As far as the results in front of me show, he hasn't actually done any practice laps. So maybe jumping in thick and fast, but getting straight back into the action. What a great finish that was. Last time out at Midwest Fest in that TCR battle in GLGT. Very different car that he's in now though, so.
Yeah, very different machine. Well, one of the other drivers I wanted to highlight, 8th place at the moment, Kevin Zhu, was not planning on being here and drove through the night to make it in time for this event, and is running under the Barbados Speed Factory team this weekend in his 8th gen Honda Civic. He didn't come until he saw the incidents in Thursday's test session, and the tickets went up for sale, and he said, you know what, let's go. And he drove here, and he's ready to go. So P8 right now for Kevin Zhu, very strong start to the weekend. As we just got a quick look at a couple other competitors. Matthew Ibrahim in that 600 E36. There's Peter Zhang in the LS Swap Scion FRS. And 37 cars have taken time, so quite a few have not yet gone out on course.
Curious as to maybe that being a strategical play. Keep yourself in pit lane until the mid part of the session.
And this is Kevin Zhu. This is who I was just talking about. Herculean effort to get here in time. And there he is. Wow, really cool. He's from the Massachusetts area. Actually works at iRacing.
Oh, nice.
In the
what's he do?
Testing. Q&A.
Okay. I was wondering if
QC,
you're about to say steward and you're about to throw him under the bus as the person that has to deal with all of those complaints.
No, Kevin has helped me many a time. But yeah, hails from, well, I don't know if he's originally from Massachusetts, but that's where he lives now. I know that he has driven this car 2 events in the past. It's still registered and plated and everything. And very simple build relative to a lot of the other cars in the championship. You know, K20, aero, good suspension, and you're really already in the top 10. So he's maximizing this chassis and this car quite well. Again, fighting an uphill battle against some of the front runners.
He's on the Kumho tires. The one thing that I find interesting about Eibach GLTC is the choice of tire that you see. There's a lot of people on Falcon tire, but then there's some that mix things up. Some Toyos, Kumhos. There's even a couple on some even more unique choices, I would say, but they're all looking for a bit of speed. Oh, and jump up to 6 there from Rawson in the 622.
Yeah, it was only his 2nd or 3rd event in Eibach GLTC, previously a competitor in Falcon Club TR. You were talking about tires. We could bring those up on the ticker as well, and there they are. There's your tire choices. Maxxis for the top 2, then Houghton on the Falcons, and then there's those Kumhos you mentioned on Kevin Zhu. So, you know, fair bit of choice given in that top 10. Some other, I think there's at least one car on Toyos. That would be Daniel Geraldo. I don't know if he's on track just yet.
There's one on BFs. That's
Peter Zhang.
Peter Zhang, yeah. So there's a nice little mix in that, which it's not many championships now that offer open tire competition, as it were. And so I really do like that element of mixing things up as well. You've got the power to weight ratio that you're all trying to play within, and then you've got a couple of tools within that to find a little bit more speed. We are now, I would think, close to halfway through this session.
Just about. And for those curious on the speeds that we're seeing, the fastest I've seen in this session is 131 miles an hour. So that's what we're looking at as far as trap speeds into the inner loop. Mostly mid 120 range. Now, the fastest GLTC car ever, to the best of my knowledge, is about 137, 138 miles an hour. That was back at Road America with an NB Miata with a K24 swap, drafting behind Matan Rosenberg. So that's how you get to 138 in a car with 220 horsepower.
Are we including draft speeds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think that car could do about 132 or 3 without it, which is a pretty good clip in a car with that little horsepower. But Kevin Zhu bumped back to 9th behind Donald Louie in the 898. That's another Subaru BRZ chassis. Not a lot of shuffling at the front, though. Still EMAG out front over Smedegaard and James Houghton. And Catil still nursing P5 right now. I think he'll be okay with that. Again, championship lead, it's not huge, but I think if he can just manage through this, Kittil is absolutely the car to beat at Lime Rock Park. And I know that he is traveling to Laguna Seca, where I also think that car will be good. Yeah. This, to me, feels like the weakest track on the calendar for this car.
He needs to survive.
Just the digs out of the uphills, and it just doesn't quite have the torque. So we'll see. There's the J Series swap S2000 of Joel Morrison, a V6 from a Honda Odyssey under the hood of that car.
Yeah, and I think for Kittil, this is damage limitation, right? And I think he admitted as much at Midwest Fest that he knew what the strategy had to be. He's carrying success ballast as well, of course, racked up over the course of the season.
Yeah.
And that's something that just gets worse as we go deeper into the year. You're not going to lose any of that success ballast. You can gain some of it, though.
Well, you know how you're having a decent season? Is that we're catastrophizing running P5. So I think he's, again, doing all right. I know he wants more, but P5 is not a bad place to be. And
it's the time that's more concerning to me.
Yeah.
Because
is his race pace capable of running a second and change faster? I don't know. But, you want to talk about racecraft? I'd take Kittil as the top 2 or 3 of this series any day. So
he's really finding himself, though, in the danger zone, by which I mean around a hornet's nest of other activity. And that could be the slight danger. Now, this BMW, it might be one of the few right-hand drive cars that we have today. Just had to quickly remind myself by looking. Yep, no, there's 2 BMWs looking very similar, and I think this is the right-hand drive one. Yep, it is.
This is Michael Pagano in the Seems Legit Garage 155. Makes some great noises, I have to say, but this is a Japanese market car that somehow found its way to Canada and then found its way here.
That's how it got here.
Yeah,
okay.
So and what a neat vehicle. It's sort of designed to look and have the essence of the British Touring Car Championship. And what a unique car. And you see that N52 B30.
Nice.
And just the sounds it makes roaring by. Such a cool machine.
It was burbling in the paddock when I was waltzing around, and it caught my attention. I was thinking, it's no way it's been 25 years since that car was made in Japan. So trickery to get it first to Canada and now here down to stateside. There is Eric Kittil. I had noted that he's one of a number of drivers that have done just a handful of laps and returned to pit lane. I think Andy Smedgaard might have just done one time lap and called it quits for the session.
So they do nothing on that car without having a reason for it. Either they're checking something, or they could be putting in or removing packers from the rear suspension on that car. Eric is so well tuned in his setup. If he feels like he needs to adjust that suspension, he's got very quick adjustable ways to adjust his rebound and his dampers such that they get the desired result. When you modify the car that extensively and tub it and change the geometry of the suspension, you build a lot of trick tools in for yourself so that you can maximize that new geometry that you've built. He's currently building a GRIDLIFE GT car, a Honda Accord, that is again, trying to invoke that Japanese touring car spirit. And he did a recent video talking about all the different Japanese touring car Accords and how they did their suspension setups and things. Just fascinating, a wealth of knowledge if you check out Eric Kittil Racing on YouTube.
Going to be curious to see what the Accord looks like in the end. Here comes the Civic back out after whatever quick look at the rear.
Hey!
Oh, there we go.
Back to the future again. And while Kittil rolls back on the pit lane, sounds like Jackson's got an update for us. Jackson, what you got, buddy?
Quick stop for Eric Kittil in the 82 hybrid racing crew was coming in with complaints of oversteer mid-corner. They got that thing on the jack and had both rear tires completely off the ground, made some switches for those Eibach springs. That might surprise some of you, but you got to remember, former Hart engineer knows how to get it done, knows how to fix the car, Kyle.
All right, I was onto something there. Definitely making some tweaks as Kittil heads into the inner loop. And you see him, he's not going to be shy with the curbing. He's built this car from the ground up and is quite comfortable running over the rumbles and leaves nothing on the table. I'll say that.
That might help him tomorrow. The couple of corners where you can make moves here, you can defend if you're willing to run on the curbs. I think turn 8, for example. Turn 1, if you're willing to run on the exit curb, carry a bit more speed. So these are things that the drivers will have kind of noted over the course of the weekend.
I was watching on test day yesterday. He went 4 tires off, full opposite lock into the runoff at turn 1. So when I said he leaves nothing on the table, I mean
literally.
It. So this will be fun to watch because after making a change like that, I'd expect a hot lap or 3. And if it's not an improvement, at least they'll have the data point and see if it was an improvement or not. And going back to setup discussion, there was Lizard Brain's podcast with Tom O'Gorman and DJ Alessandrini, 2 previous Eibach GLTC competitors. They talk a lot about setups, and if you turn a knob and the car improves, don't stop turning that knob until you don't see an improvement anymore. And that is probably true even for experienced drivers like Eric Catil.
See if the oversteer at the rear is being fixed. Now a bit of movement at the front, though, as he headed out through the penultimate corner, back down towards the line now. And
this will be a start of a flying lap, so we'll follow him through.
Oh, look at him maximize the track on entry. All of the white line being used. Brave on the curbs, all 4 wheels on it, so straddles it to punch now up through the S's, where we know this car will be at a slight disadvantage. Continue climbing. It's going to feel like an age as well for these drivers in qualifying. The wait. Now you start to see the next corner in front of you. Clean road in front of him, crucially. And for a driver who wants to send it into the inner loop, that's ideal. Spot your references. Turns the car in nicely. No curb there, makes that corner so easy. And then on the final part of the bus stop, uses that curb to just cut the corner, run into the carousel. Did we get a...
Yeah, 126 on his corner entry there.
There you go. So he really is moving now on the second lap out of pit lane. Oh, a little bit moment down there. Rear end definitely did step out slightly. Caught it well. So maybe not completely fix the oversteer he was complaining about.
I think you want it to point. You just don't want it to be countersteer beyond a certain point, because then you're scrubbing speed. But climbing up out of the toe and headed to the heel.
It's another downhill braking zone here. Not as aggressively downhill as the 90, but still can be tricky. That was nice on the track limits. Kept 2 wheels on. Rolled enough of the speed through the mid and late part of the corner, and then up through tricky turn 9. No issue for him there. A much nicer arc to the corner than some of the things that we've seen previously today. And then, again, it won't be flat for him, I would assume, through turn 10. Set up for the final corner. Nice, tidy sweep down to the apex.
Oh,
that
so tight.
Close to the wall, but a pretty good lap for Catil after making the setup change.
And let's see what it will do for him across the line now. It is going to be not quicker, 208, 232, I think.
I don't think the timing quite triggered that, because that was definitely not a 7-minute lap time. I watched it with my eyes.
Yeah, so heading up the hill now. We'll keep following Catil as he makes his way around.
It has just popped up on my end as a 208.7. So he is about half a second slower still than the fastest lap of the session so far. And the minutes are going quickly here. Into the last 10 minutes right now. Time ticking away. Catil not in a bad spot by any means, but the rest of the drivers looking to try and improve. See if they could beat Eric Magnussen or Andy Smedgaard and lock themselves onto the front row.
Coming back around into the outer loop and then plunging down into turn 6. Got a little traffic on the horizon there. So if he was at a 208, what'd you say, 208.7?
Exactly.
About a half a second off. Feeling out that change, I wouldn't be surprised to see it be a little bit quicker this time.
Joel Morrison, he just went within a 1/10 of his best lap, so he's in close proximity to bumping Eric Catil out of the top 5. Catil not having it all his own way with the traffic, though, down to turn 8.
Yeah, that's George Manabdi there, right off the nose of Catil.
Holding his line as he's entitled to, but definitely costing Catil some ground.
Yeah, and again, for Catil, he won't be stoked about that, especially for a driver that he hasn't seen before. There's a sort of an unwritten rule, but again, you're right, there's no obligation to get out of the way, but Catil's going to knock off that lap.
And he's got to be careful because there's another driver still coming with lots of momentum. If he wants to attack and not get caught out here, go, go, go now.
Yeah, didn't quite pick up who that was behind him. But looks like he's going to go again, and he's still got a couple laps to go. I think we'll have about 5 or 6 more minutes.
I think, yeah. So if it's at most 6 minutes, then maybe 3 laps is optimistic for him. Again, he's so committed on the entry to turn 1, and that time a bit more aggressive in using the curb.
Yeah, again, it's really just that first 100 feet after you track out that the curbing is an issue. After that, it flattens out, and you can use a little more, but at that point, you're already sort of wanting to get back on the asphalt. It was actually extended in 2012 when they added some more runoff to that area. So the curb profile is a little different from one end to the other. So when you climb up on it, it sort of feels like you're banked, and then it flattens out as you get the rest of the way around the circuit. Let's see what Catil is going to do into the inner loop this time. 129 miles an hour that time, so more speed from turn 1 to the bus stop.
He wound himself up, that's for sure. Is he going to catch that BMW at an unopportune time again, though? That might be one of the questions that's floating in the back of his mind as he drops down into the boot.
He's got a little more gap now. I think he should be okay this time around, so long as Manabdi stays on throttle and doesn't bail out of the lap.
Up through turn 8. Oh, turn 7.
I've done that a couple times. I don't know what it is about it, but I've done that a number of times.
I always seem to add 1 as you head down into the boot. And now that downhill braking zone once again. Magnussen has not gone back out, but Andy Smedgaard has, from what I have seen. A 2:07.2, his most recent lap, so there's time on track. He's still looking to try and find the 10th and a half he needs to get to pole position.
Catil entering turn 9 now and getting back on the short course layout here, heading to turn 10. And like you said, I don't think quite flat. It'll be a slight confidence lift heading into this 10th turn.
I call it the oval layout, by the way, at Watkins Glen. Oh.
Yeah, a little bit of a brake pad knockback brake tap there into 11. And this should be a decent lap, fairly representative, I'd imagine.
Oh, what a great shot from our Project Prime team.
Oh, lovely. Across the stripe for Catil, and no pickup. Look at that shot. They are artists in that trailer, I have to say.
Now, I don't know if this is quite correct. I'll wait for it to update, but that lap time shown as a 2:15, so I think he might have bailed out on that lap as well.
Look, he looked slow from 8 to 9.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I didn't want to say it.
Yep. I'm always nervous to do that, especially on tracks with big hills, because sometimes it's deceiving.
It's very tricky sometimes to tell, but no, it does look as though that was a slow lap once again. So with at most 2 laps, this might be the final lap of the race. What was the entry speed?
126 again that time.
So his best has been 129.
Yep.
But he's still pretty quick. No question about that. Using the curb on the outside of the carousel to just run the momentum out wide, then cut back down, late apex effectively in the entry into the boot.
This is fun watching him try to find the time here. The track isn't super well subscribed at the moment. There's maybe a dozen other cars on the road, but none of them really finding a lot of speed. And that also is interesting. I would have thought we would have gotten slightly faster as the fuel burns off, but we haven't really seen that trend in this session.
As checkered flag is now officially out, so this lap will count. Magnussen, provisional pole. Does anyone have anything to beat him?
Surprised that we didn't see more out of Houghton as well. Just threw down that one good lap and called it. I didn't even see him on track. So, ooh, getting that thing rotated into 9.
Had a bit of a wiggle then on the second part of the corner. I think he's bailed, I think
you're right on that. So yeah, he'll probably call that. So P5 for Eric Catil.
I felt more confident saying it that time, but he's, I think, extracted the most.
I think he did too, and I think he won't be stoked about it, but I do think that he's going to race a little bit better than that. Let's have a look at your results for Eibach GLTC qualifying. Eric Magnussen on the top of the board, Andy Smedgaard in second, and James Houghton returns, and he is back in the top 2 rows for the start of race 1 tomorrow. Matthew Ibrahim 4th. That's a great qualifying effort from, I think, his best ever. Catil Morrison, Ryan Kristoff in that little L15 Honda CRX in 7th place. Then Jake Ross and Matt Walbaum and Donald Louie, the rest of your top 10. Then it's Michael Hilo, Kevin Zhu, Blake Korth, Brandon Ganem, and Kunwoo Lee, a strong run there. Jeff Donati was involved in a wreck a couple of weeks ago here in testing, but he's gotten that car requalified to 16th place. Bursack, Wombolt, Hedian, and Manabdi, your top 20. Last couple of pages here, Julio Crispin returns to Eibach GLTC competition for the first time in a while. We saw Pagano out there. Jeff Wasilko's had a lot of laps around this racetrack. Justin Lee wrapping up the top 30. And then that should be the last page here. Down to 37th place, Jay Rebus, only a 218.4. A couple newcomers towards the bottom of the standings here. But Arjuna, that's going to complete our on-course coverage for the day. A little bit of everything. Very pleased with the track in general. Kept everyone mostly pointed the right direction. And we learned a lot for tomorrow.
Definitely. Especially what the heat of the day is going to be like for our time attack drivers heading into podium sprint. So I think that was an important takeaway. Ultimately, though, building to our first wheel-to-wheel racing action tomorrow, and I think that will be exciting as well. Dropping them down into the 90 for the first time and hoping they don't go bowling.
Yeah, our first race will be tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. That is the GridLife Rush Series cars that we'll see in anger for the first time. Do not miss it. 56 cars taking the green flag, and then we'll have GridLife GT, Eibach GLTC Drift, and plenty more coming your way. If you're in the area, tickets are still available. You can come see T-Pain and Shaq as DJ Diesel tomorrow in person. And well, you can join us tomorrow all day long. We're firing up around 9 a.m. Eastern. We'll be live with you until 5:30 in the afternoon. Thanks to Jackson Lambros on the pit lane and Project Prime behind the scenes. Unbelievable scenes on day number 1. Let's have a look back here as we sign off for the day at some of the action that we got to see. But for Jackson Lambros, for Arjuna Kankapati, and for myself, Kyle Heyer, thanks so much, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern with more GridLife Summer Apex action from Watkins Glen International.